subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Have also been modified, and although not as good as Lucas, they can also be used as a one-time zero. As long as I crush this thing at such a close distance, all the Menos Grande collectively explode, so what if your subordinates can fight again? They will still be blown up by hundreds of zeros, which are 10 times stronger than the normal standard. Gotta be smashed to pieces. Then you're done. Yuichi's expression did not change. Okay, then I'll crush your hopes with my own hands. Sailaporo just wanted to crush. Suddenly, an explosion sounded. Oh, it seems that I don't need me anymore. Seeing the red light emerging one after another on the ground battlefield, he was slightly startled, and he showed a slightly amused smile. Menos Grande was fatally attacked and chose to self-destruct before dying. Although these Menos Grandes are not as strong as Lucas, they are extremely successful in thought transformation. And once it self-destructs, Menos Grande, who is implicated in it, will also self-explode. Under such a chain reaction, the enemy can't even react and escape. It's like falling into a quagmire. Unable to protect himself, he can only watch his companions die one after another. Even he himself died without a place to be buried. Ciro's self-destruction also caught Yuichi's attention. Sailaporo seized the gap of her distraction, made a sudden turn, and stabbed the opponent's abdominal cavity with his palm like a knife. How sharp is Yuichi's senses? Respond quickly. But at this moment, she suddenly felt that half of her body was paralyzed. Poison. A light flashed in my mind. Since she is a researcher and a grandmaster whose body has been transformed, it is common sense to configure some special medicines. She must have scratched her skin with her fingertips just now and spread some kind of poison or medicine that can cause paralyzing effects to the whole body through the blood. Xingjun, the design of reducing the fabric for the convenience of battle, has become a breakthrough for the enemy. It's so ironic. Yuichi put his still-moving right hand on Zanpakutō behind him. She wants to liberate Zanpakutō and exchange injuries with the other party. At this moment, a sharp sword cry pierced through the sky, and at the same time brought the slash of the shield of Shueisha. A bright red slash passed between the two, isolating them. Do you think this kind of thing can stop me? Sailaporo saw that someone came to destroy his good opportunity, and he couldn't help burning with anger. The rationality in his eyes gradually faded, and the murderousness began to condense. He wasn't actually lying. He really doesn't like fighting. Because he devoured his big brother, who was a general after his death, he was influenced by his brutal desire to fight. He was usually a calm and rational scholar, but once he fought, he could easily lose control of his emotions and become warlike like a madman. This is something that Sailaporo, a self-proclaimed researcher, absolutely cannot accept. This is also the main reason why, even though he has become Vasto Lord and defeated Menos Grande of the same level, even now the king of Hueco Mundo is polite to him and treats him as a guest, and still does his best to do research. Strength or something has never been his pursuit. What he longed for was a perfect life. To do this, you have to get rid of the imperfect parts of yourself. It doesn't matter if you weaken yourself and degenerate into a juches. However, the power of the virtual has been studied for so many years, and it is still unsuccessful. If that's the case, it's time to change your mood, turn your attention to Shinigami, and study their power system and maybe get some new ideas. Sailaporo thought so and did it. It can only be said that his research intuition is very keen, because in a few years, when Aizen arrives with Jayaku, he will jump to be the 0th blade in the first generation Espada, and then take this opportunity to make the later 15th blade Ilfurji. Land split, and he fell outside of Espada for a while and obtained the number 8, which symbolizes Espada, through his research ability. In other words, Shinigami's power can indeed help him achieve his long-cherished wish. Even unaware of these future events, Sailaporo could not tolerate anyone interfering with his research plans. Now he has not yet contacted Jayaku, and like Stark, he will go to Arankar, and his strength is comparable to the top 4 of Espada in the future. Urahara Kasuk's shield of bloody clouds didn't hold up for even a second before being forcibly torn apart. Although it wasn't a shield of blood in a defensive stance, its slashes were sharp enough. Can be hit in the hands of Sailaporo was unscathed. Even Urahara Kasuke felt a little creepy watching it. He hurriedly grabbed Yoruichi by Shuinpa and took him back. It doesn't need to go too far. Just get into the range of Guan Yu's Shirkai ability. Can you run? Sailaporo, who has aroused the desire to kill, has lost his former calmness and pursued his prey like a ferocious beast. Celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time, October 1st to October 7th. 22. Urahara Kasuke's acting skills Bankai. The Ryatsu on Urahara Kasuke starts to soar while aiming the tip of Zanpakutō at Sailaporo. The latter's pupil shrank. The remaining rationality turned into a rein to pull his pace forward, and his figure paused during the pursuit. Captain Ryatsu was nothing to him. But Bankai is different. There may be some strange abilities, and you must be more cautious. However, Urahara Kasuke grinned. Liar to you, Baika number 61. 6-stand light prison. It turned out to be a false move. This soaring Ryatsu is really just about unleashing the powerful, restraining kid to stall the time. This is also impossible. His Bankai is not suitable for use in the sky where there is nothing. The deceived Sailaporo was caught by the 6 paths light wings, and when he came back to his senses, his whole body was twisted. Oh! No matter who they are, they have a sense of superiority at the level of IQ, but now they are being played with such a crude trick. It can only be said that it is very insulting. The remaining rationality was instantly burned by anger and murderous intent. Boom! A huge amount of Ryatsu erupted like a volcano. Atmosphere? No, even the space itself has abnormal fluctuations. The top 4 of Espada were banned from returning to the sword under the dome of the Void Palace because it was easy to blow up their home, and Ryatsu, who was released with all his strength by Sailaporo, could do the same. If there is a so-called sky cover above his head at this time, it will still be destroyed by this magma-like Ryatsu. Kasuke, why are you here? Where is Guan Yue? The Ryatsu air in front of her made Yoruichi's hair flutter, and the explosions and shocks behind her were not to be missed. She and Urahara Kasuke were caught in the middle, feeling extremely heavy physically and mentally. Urahara Kasuke explained, "It's okay. With Mr. Guan Yue here, no one will die in front of him. But Miss Yoruichi, you are too far away, so I have to cover your retreat." Yoruichi gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, "I'm sorry. I was poisoned by this guy, and my body is temporarily unable to exert any strength. As a captain, I have to have my subordinates to protect myself. Even I think it's shameful enough." "Don't say that. Without Miss Yoruichi to hold back the enemy, my plan with Mr. Guan Yue would not be able to go smoothly. You are wrong. When I made the decision to even bring your bodies back, your dying struggles have lost their meaning." Suddenly, a cold voice entered the ears of the two of them. Urahara Kasuke and Yoruichi's expressions suddenly changed. The latter even shouted loudly, "Kasuke, behind!" Urahara Kasuke glanced out of the corner of his eye and found that Sailaporo broke free from the 6-stick light prison at some point and flew to catch up with them. There was even a position less than 1 meter behind him. Laugh! The blade slashed towards Sailaporo's neck, making a sharp piercing sound, but it was caught by Sailaporo with the palm of his hand. 2 long white tentacle-like objects suddenly appeared on Sailaporo's back, and the tops of them bloomed, revealing a spot of light. No! Where's the light spot? Clearly compressed to ultimate zero. In addition, there is no plan to project it. Instead, he used zero as the tip of his tentacles, stabbing Urahara Kasuke and Yoruichi. Urahara Kasuke pushed Yoruichi away immediately, with a gesture of self-denial and generous death. "Kasuke?" Yoruichi's eyes widened. Naya's body couldn't exert her strength, so she slowed down everything she did. When she stopped her falling body and regained her footing in the sky, Sailaporo's 2 tentacles, which were more penetrating than a laser spear, had already pierced through Urahara Kasuke's body. Seeing this scene, she was stunned. "It's a pity. Your captain doesn't seem to understand your painstaking efforts, and he didn't seize the chance to escape that you sacrificed your life for." Sailaporo sneered at the man in front of him with infinite malice. For some reason, He hated Urahara Kisuke. Although they don't know each other, it's impossible to say what abominable things they have done, but it's still very annoying, and I can't help but want to erase them from the world just by seeing them. No! Miss Yurichi's response was great. Otherwise, you'd probably leave me alone and continue chasing her? I think that's fine. Urahara Kisuke suddenly said something. His tone was uncharacteristically even, not at all like a wounded man. It was only then that Sailaporo noticed that the two tentacles he was supposed to pierce through Urahara Kisuke's body only pierced his body. It's like passing through some kind of illusion. Bound at Hongji, Urahara Kisuke took advantage of the moment when he was lost and manipulated Hongji to release the maximum blood shield. Under the action of the spirit of words, he changed his form, turned into threads of spider silk, wrapped around Sailaporo's body, and quickly assembled and woven into a web. The bag not only seals the hands, feet, and torso, but also seals the eyes and ears. Sailaporo, who lost his vision, suddenly woke up and struggled hard. Red G's restraint was just the strong contact with the body surface. Ryatsu had a tendency to dissolve. With this force, he broke 30% of the Ryatsu's silk thread, freeing his right hand. Almost subconsciously, he wanted to use his hand to tear off the silk thread that blocked his vision. This is not difficult for him. It is easy to do. The other party did not stop him. This made Sailaporo suddenly extremely uneasy, especially when he tore the thread and saw a certain scene. This anxiety turned into a visible fear. Not far away. Eat your own body. Absolutely fog. Guan Yue hunted in robes, holding the luxurious and exquisite Zanpakutō, and read out the second paragraph of Liberation. Celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time, October 1st to October 7th, 23. Second Dan Shirkai, the Shirkai of Mindless, is divided into two stages. In the first stage, as I said to Urahara Kisuke, the damage suffered by the friends who are not hostile to themselves within 100 meters is absorbed and converted into Ryatsu and injected into the thick layer outside the six-sided prismatic blade. In the crystal shell, its maximum storage capacity, 6 times the size of all my Ryatsu. After the deposit is full, you can enter the second stage. Take that's the equivalent of 6 massive Ryatsu of yourself, unleashed in one go by Zanpakutō, but not like Zero. Instead, they are all used to strengthen the next move. This move can be a swipe, a violent headbutt, or a flick of a finger, or it's okay to stare at the enemy. In short, as long as you think it's a move. But in order to maximize the lethality, the most lethal moves must be used. Invest a Ryatsu bonus equal to the sum of 6 of your cells on top of the strongest. There is no doubt that this will be the strongest blow in its true sense. From Urahara Kisuke's point of view, Guan Yue chose the number 91 had Senju Jiaqian Cannon. Based on this, he used the technique of quasi-singing and released multiple Senju Jiaqian cannons at the same time. But it's not. Guan Yue chose Tongshinlu. At present, among the 8 strange skills, the one that he is best at is also the one that is most suitable for performing in front of others. Being able to transform the kid you have learned into a magic talisman with the greatest power and fastest efficiency can be described as the ultimate practical form of mainstream kid. Guan Yue waved the absolute mist, as if not wielding a knife, but issuing orders to some invisible law. In an instant, 3 purple-red magic talismans appeared in a row in front of him, arranged in a pyramid shape. Each talisman had 91 Senju Jiaotian, which is a triple talisman superimposed on the principle of quasi-duo. This is the limit of what he can do so far. And it's not instantaneous. Instead, he outlines the lines when he hides his body shape, and waits until he shows up to make the final shape, in order to be able to launch an attack as soon as possible. Obviously, Guan Yue didn't work in vain. The tactics were quite successful, with Urahara Kisuke putting in a good show and creating a great chance. The moment the 3 talismans are formed, they emit infinite rays of light, like 3 small suns, exuding terrifying Ryatsu fluctuations, which is more than 1 level stronger than the previous double lotus blue fire pendant. But it's not over yet. The crystal shell of the blade of the absolute mist is also glowing. The huge Ryatsu, equivalent to 6 Guan Yu, was forcibly stuffed into the magic talisman in an unreasonable way. In an instant, the size of each magic talisman became 10 times larger, and it could easily cover 4 or 5 people. Boom! 30 arrows of light, each as thick as a water tank, are the result of Guan Yu compressing its shape as much as possible. Wait. The strength of 991 is already very high. As far as the ordinary captains of the Soul Society have sacrificed for hundreds of years, it is not difficult to kill them in seconds. What's more, add Ryatsu, which is equivalent to 6 Guan Yu, on this basis. It was like being dragged to death without a word by 6 captain-level Shinigami. Even though Saolaporo is one of the best among Vasto Lord, but facing this wave of offensive, he can only escape and dodge. But he didn't have time to escape now. "You can't kill me." Saolaporo had no time to shout this sentence before being hit by 30 large purple arrows of light. The characteristics of Senju's jigsaws begin to emerge. After hitting, it detonates and fuses with other arrows in the process of detonation, which expands the spread of thermal energy, and when the thermal energy continues to rise to the extreme, a collapse phenomenon occurs, shrinking inward from 4 directions. The colors in the sky and the earth are all covered by this dazzling cross-shaped explosion of ultimate, and even the sound has been taken away from one extreme to the other. A strange silence spreads, and the light and shadows rotate in front of you. The world seems to be gradually dying. It is enough to awaken the deepest fear in a rational creature, enough to make every nerve and cell start to tremble. This kind of power is too terrifying. Even the 96 head cremation that Mr. Yamamoto gave up with one arm was nothing more than one knife cremation. Guan Yu himself was surprised. When the strange atmosphere of doom disappeared, the aftermath of the cross-explosion began to spread, and the dust that was not similar to the mushroom cloud of the nuclear explosion, but was as shocking as the scale, was mixed with countless Madara Bargemars crashed down. Guan Yu raised Zanpakutō and placed it in front of him, and Mist automatically released Ryatsu to form a half-faced film like a shield to block the air and dust. When the aftermath dissipated, you could still see some fluorescent flashes in the air, fluttering like snowflakes. The essence of this series of conflicts is the phenomenon of spirits, so that the content of spirits in this airspace battlefield is so high that it is almost visible to the naked eye. At the same time, it also indirectly proves how fierce the battle is. "Guan Yu, how's it going? Did you kill that guy?" Swish, swish twice. Yoruichi and Urahara Kisuke appeared alongside Guan Yu. It was Yoruichi who asked the question. Guan Yu shook his head slightly, but there was no superfluous expression on his face. "It's hard to say. Since you regard research as a hobby, you must have developed the habit of preparing some backups no matter what you do, right?" "It's true. I don't know about others. I usually put all the possibilities that I can think of into the plan." Urahara Kisuke agrees. Bang! An iron fist hit Urahara Kisuke's head with smoke, and the pain brought tears to his eyes. "Miss Yoruichi, what are you doing?" "I'm just speaking out for myself, who was stunned like a fool, just because I thought you were killed by someone," Yoruichi said, glancing maliciously at Guan Yu. "Captain Yoruichi, I confess, this is the idea of Urahara's 3 seats." Guan Yu sold his teammates without hesitation. "Guan Yu, Mr. Urahara Kisuke's eyes widened, his voice all out of tune. "Guan Yu, stay away from this guy in the future. Don't let this guy lead you down. Remember the captain's teachings." Guan Yu and Yoruichi said a word, not giving Urahara Kisuke the slightest chance to explain. It made his stomach hurt. Ow! At this moment, Guan Yu's eyes swept to the void in front of him. At the center of the explosion, after the dust cleared away, a broken figure stood there. 2 arms were missing, and the torso was almost hollowed out. Only the spine supports the upper body while connecting the lower limbs. All the clothes on the body were evaporated, but there was no sight of blindness, because the surface of the body was burned to the same extent as a charred mummy. Whoosh! Saolaporo's hair was disheveled, and his handsome face was as ferocious as a ghost. Part of his brain tissue was exposed to the air, and even his skull was really blown away. Even so, he still survived, celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100. and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time, October 1st to October 7th, 24. Ultimate firepower. This is the highest level Menos Grande? What an outrageous vitality. Am I actually fighting this kind of thing just now? Yuruchi's eyelids couldn't stop jumping. She used to be a little bit worried that she was inferior to her strategy at close range empty-handed, but now she doesn't think so. Now she just thinks it's just too lucky that she only suffered this little flesh wound after fighting against this kind of monster. It's a normal situation, Urahara Kasuke said solemnly. Shigami or emptiness. Its vitality depends to a large extent on Ryatsu, and the opponent's strongest is precisely Ryatsu. The enemy's injuries are very serious, and there is no sign of self-healing. It seems that he does not have the ability of high-speed regeneration. Guan Yue came to a conclusion after careful observation. At this moment, they suddenly saw Sail-Aporo stuff what looked like a capsule into his mouth. Is it a therapeutic drug? Swish. Guan Yue doesn't say anything. Shuunpa closes the distance and raises Zanpakutō to fill up on Sail-Aporo. Even if he can't kill him, he must completely incapacitate him. Otherwise, who knows what this mad scientist will do. If you kill me, your captain will also die. Sail-Aporo showed a dreadful smile on his face. Suddenly, Zanpakutō, like a large crystal sword, stopped in mid-air, less than 2 centimeters from his forehead, like a gun chamber with hot air still remaining after firing a shell. The crystal shell was transformed and transported by high-strength Ryatsu, and it was equally astonishingly hot. Thinking of the kid that Zanpakutō released just now, Sail-Aporo couldn't help but shudder. The smile on his face couldn't hold back, and cold sweat flowed down his cheeks. Actually, we don't have to fight to the death, right? Seeing Yuruchi and Urahara Kasuke leaning over to block his wings, Sail-Aporo seemed to regain his usual rationality. If you want to beg for mercy, say something nice. Guan Yu's tone was cold. Begging for mercy? No, that's impossible. Even if I accidentally fall into this fate, I don't think I've lost. As I just said, if you kill me, your captain will also die. Sail-Aporo gasped. In order to ensure that I can continue my research and not cause my own death due to some unexpected factors, I have remodeled myself, and when I die, I will get the reborn. Hearing these words, Yuruchi's face was very bad. She was the only one injured here. Rebirth? No, if there is such a good thing, you should have committed suicide earlier. Urahara Kasuke asked with narrowed eyes. This technology has yet to be perfected. If possible, I don't want to be forced to use this imperfect technology, because according to my original idea, I was to transfer my soul into the other party's body and then absorb the nutrients of the mother's body to allow myself to be born smoothly. Call it conception notification, but now I can only do transfer. If I transfer over with serious injuries, my weak state is like a dying fetus, unable to dominate the birth process, which will lead to my soul. It is very likely that it will merge with the other party. You should have seen what I just ate. It is a kind of medicine to strengthen the connection between the two parties, and it is also a kind of poison. I can already feel my soul is about to move as long as you restrict my actions or kill me. If you kill me, my soul will be stimulated and transferred directly. You can't stop this process. Sail-Aporo said intermittently while vomiting blood. Now the three of Guan Yue also knew why he had the means of resurrection and did not choose to commit suicide. The virtual soul is too corrosive. Many virtuals can even use it as a combat ability, but it also has certain risks. As long as you make one mistake, your prey will in turn devour your own consciousness. It is difficult for Sail-Aporo to devour Yuruchi in this state, and Yuruchi cannot devour him. So the result is force fusion. What will happen after that, no one can say. The unknown is often scary. I believe that you who have defeated me will definitely be able to come up with a solution, but I will not give you this chance. I count dozens. If you don't let me go, I will kill myself. Sail-Aporo threatened. Urahara Kasuke frowned. Too little time to think of a solution. The main thing is that they can't afford to gamble. Soul transfer. Guan Yue whispered. There was an inexplicable meaning in his tone. Give Sail-Aporo a bad feeling. I thought you had something behind, but it turned out to be only this level. Guan Yue knows the future, and also understands what Sailaporo calls the birth notification, which is indeed a disgusting ability, but it is not a threat to him. A silver-blue sword pressed down from above, severing Sailaporo with his terrified, twisted face. As soon as the wind blew, the corpse turned into a black and gray spirit and dissipated. Yoruichi and Urahara Kasuke didn't expect him to be so decisive. It was too late to stop him. Don't worry about the two seniors. My Zanpakutō has the ability to absorb Ryatsu and can temporarily store his soul. Guan Yue said that he was holding the end of the fog. This is a lie. He is actually using detaining spirit to dispatch general to detain the other party's soul. Urahara Kasuke keenly saw a turbid and twisted soul wrapped around the six-sided prismatic blade in the crystal shell. Although he wanted to break through the crystal shell, the cylinder blade seemed to exude infinite suction, killing the soul. It was stuck on it and couldn't get rid of it. Is this the soul of that guy? It's ugly enough. The thought of letting this kind of thing enter my body, I don't even want to eat today. Yoruichi put his entire face close to Zanpakutō, like a child visiting a museum to observe antiques through glass, and curiosity was written on his face. Won't you kill him? Urahara Kasuke looked at Guan Yue in confusion. I said that I would hang him at the gate of Shia Palace to learn how to bark. I will take good care of his soul before that. Guan Yue smiled. How can it be wiped out like this? This is a vasto, Lord-level Menos Grande soul, which is the best choice for collections, research materials, and ingredients. Yoruichi and Urahara Kasuke looked at each other with weird expressions. I just think this kid is really holding a grudge. Oh yes, there's still a little bit of finishing touches that haven't been done. Guan Yue's wrist shook, and Ju returned to the sealed state and retracted into the sheath. It is worth mentioning that his shirkai changed together with the scabbard shell, so the ability will be divided into two stages. Captain Yoruichi, please stand still. You will be fine soon. What? Under Yoruichi's unexplained gaze, Guan Yue aimed his right hand at her injured shoulder, and the blue Ryatsu danced in his hand like a living being. Soon, this strange Ryatsu stretched over Yoruichi's shoulders. Yoruichi frowned, feeling that he lost control of his body, which was uncomfortable, but fortunately, the big-handed Ryatsu withdrew after a while. Not only did she leave by herself, but she also took away some mysterious white-turbid spiritual power substances from her. Is this Sailaporo's reincarnation medium? Urahara Kasuke's mind went fast. Guan Yue nodded slightly and said, yes, as long as this thing is not on Captain Yoruichi, even if he has other backers, there is no way to affect Captain Yoruichi. After all, no matter what you do, there must be a channel. Yeah, my body feels a lot easier. I didn't expect, Guan Yue, you can still Cade? But you don't look like Cade? Anyway, thank you very much. Come to me in the future, and I will give it to you. Backed up, Yoruichi put his arms around Guan Yue's shoulders like a big sister. This is double full hands, like the Spirit Talisman Kid technique, Tongshinlu, that I used. It is a special ability that I awakened. It's not a problem to say that it is Cade. After all, the effect is similar, and it can't be used in battle. Guan Yue deliberately concealed part of the truth about Xuanquan hands. No way, this ability is inherently dangerous. The blue hand modifies the soul, and the red hand modifies the body. Although the latter is not useful for Shinigami, who is a spiritual body. But the former is very targeted. Just like Aizen's Kaika Sujetsu, a harmless skin is temporarily needed. Even so, after hearing his words, he remembered the magic talisman he had seen earlier. Both Yoruichi and Urahara Kasuke gasped. Not only the mainstream kid, but even a special medical technology like Cade has corresponding special abilities, and it can be said that it is an all-rounder of magic. Could it be that this guy has been favored by the will of the Spirit King? Celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time, October 1st to October 7th, 25. Spider-Girl at Hueco Mundo. It was a barren land, with barren ground like a white desert and dead wood that looked like quartz. All day and night. The moon is like a reflection on the lake, and a crescent moon opposite to the present world hangs in the boundless darkness of the night. When the soul is swallowed up by various desires in the heart, it will degenerate into a void, and then follow a certain guidance to come to this world that belongs to the void, Hueco Mundo. Somewhere in the desert, there is a magnificent building called the Palace of the Night, where the ruler of Hueco Mundo lived. Inside this void night palace, in the research room belonging to Sail-Aporo, a white spider-shaped void was quietly lying on the ground. Let's call it female, but she didn't have the madness that was driven by desire, because Rocapolamia has no heart. As an artificial Menos Grande, made from countless souls by Sail-Aporo, it fundamentally lacks the cause of depravity, and even advanced Ajuches does not normally devour the same kind. Instead, Sail-Aporo collected countless phantoms and injected them into her body to meet the minimum required for evolution. The consequence of this is that Roja's fighting ability is not as good as that of Menos Grande. But in Sail-Aporo's eyes, she is just a tool. When you guessed right, Sail-Aporo did prepare a lot of backups for himself. Because in order to achieve a perfect life, at least one must possess the characteristic of immortality, right? After discovering that Lorger couldn't be used in battle, she transformed it into a device that could be resurrected after her accidental death. This is related to Luo Jia's ability, Nagasi in Silk. The so-called Nagasi in Silk is a special form derived from the light of Nagasi, and that Aizen will use to lead him to Hueco Mundo in the future. Unconstrained by space and difficult to be interfered by the outside world, it is as ethereal as the spinning thread of fate. Sail-Aporo tried every means to get Luo Jia to obtain this ability. The purpose is to use the properties of Nagasi in Silk to connect with various substances and share spiritual information with each other. In this way, he can keep his memory, technology, and soul information, all the elements that make up Sail-Aporo, scattered backups in every corner of Hueco Mundo. In case of unfortunate death one day, the soul can be reconstructed through Luo Jia's Nagasi in Silk, and all the power can be retrieved to complete the resurrection. This is also the only mission that Luo Jia has been given now. And just today, Nagasi received a message about the death of the Master. Master, is he dead? There were ripples in Luo Jia's heart. So that person is going to die. She couldn't even understand what surprise meant. Later, Luo Jia carried out the order according to the original plan and resurrected the Master Sail-Aporo. However, she didn't know. Sail-Aporo's soul is still in Guan Yue's hands and has not dissipated. This also means that the first step of resurrection, reconstructing the soul, has failed. If Sail-Aporo was alive, he would probably be furious, and the carefully planned resurrection mechanic would get stuck on the first step. As if to say, your plan was wrong from the start. Luo Jia only regards herself as a prop. As a prop, no thinking ability is required. So when she noticed something was wrong, she didn't stop. Countless inquiries were passed along the Nagasi in Silk that covered the surrounding space one after another. It is reasonable to say that this step can attract the dissipated souls and complete the reorganization. However, the silk capsule in Luo Jia's body gathered countless threads, each thread carrying an infinite and disordered flow of information, and the rich Ryatsu rippled like a sea. Among them, there is no sign of condensing the soul. Roja felt confused. She didn't know what to do next. Or, Sail-Aporo's order ends here, because in the original plan, Sail-Aporo had already reconstructed his soul at this moment, extracted his memory to form his original personality, and could establish contact with Luo Jia and arrange the next steps according to the situation. But now the master doesn't show up. She didn't know what was wrong or how to deal with it. So, the thinking started naturally. For the first time, the endless and confused thoughts had a tendency, and the huge flow rubbed and caught fire in the depths of the soul. Although it was very weak, the tiny spark of wisdom also ignited the Nagasi in Silk. The countless messages that belong to Sail-Aporo are gradually melting away, like melting candles, and in the end there is only a pool of wax oil that can no longer be put together. These wax oils solidify over time. Nagasi in Silk is the same. The countless threads that are invisible to the naked eye that fill the space continue to transmit back information. These information are like dry wood, which makes Luo Jia's wisdom spark more and more vigorous. and finally forms a cluster of flames. Before she knew it, she didn't even realize it. Countless consultations were burnt, and the huge spirits spilled out of the body, but they were bound by Nagase in silk in the name of keeping sale Aporo information. Gradually, these Nagase in silk accumulated more and more, turning her entire spider form. The body is wrapped, forming a cocoon. On the other side, Soul Society. After finishing the battle, the entire 2nd Division went home. Although this time the performance of the martial arts was an extraordinary situation, which was beyond Yoruichi's control for a time, and almost everyone was injured and tired. Guan Yue has nothing to do with this. The damage absorbed by his shurikai is limited, so he can't follow Urahara Kisuke to support Yoruichi at the first time. And he can't leave the Menos Grande alone and let them attack and kill the team, and then take the team. Injuries received are infinitely transformed into Reiatsu. Also, before the liberation of Zanpakutō, damage to others cannot be absorbed. Fortunately, most of the 2nd Division worked in secret mobility. They were good at hiding and agile. Although everyone was injured and looked terribly out of the battlefield, after counting the number of people, it was found that the number of casualties did not exceed 10. Name. Unsuspectingly, he collided with a special combat unit led by a Vasto Lord class and was forced to fight to win. With only this level of casualties, it can be said that it was a great victory. Just for this, the Commander-in-Chief has no reason to scold me, but it should be rewarded. Can I take the opportunity to make some interesting suggestions? After returning to Siriidi, Yoruichi took 2 key parties, Urahara Kisuke and Guan Yue, to the first team quarters to report the situation to Captain Yamamoto. The 3 of them walked in the quaint corridor. Along the way, there were people who saluted and bowed, and some kind people were willing to lead the way. Yoruichi looked like he was used to it, and he kept thinking about what he should do to take advantage of this opportunity to break away from the Commander-in-Chief. Urahara Kisuke sighed helplessly. Guan Yue also had a bad premonition in his heart. Maybe there will be awards, but the premise is that you have to put away this awkward face. Otherwise, you will have to get a cane before claiming the reward. Celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time, October 1st to October 7th, 26. There are monsters above the exception. The first team house and captain's meeting room. In front of Shigekuni Yamamoto, the captain of the first team and the captain of Godei 13. The captains of each team were divided into 2 columns according to the odd and even numbers. All of these captains combined were no match for the power naturally exuded by Mr. Yamamoto, and the entire conference room was completely dominated by a solemn atmosphere. The doors suddenly opened, instantly ushering in the sight of the captains. Even the simple sight of Reiatsu's powerful people has extraordinary pressure. The unconscious, overflowing Reiatsu, combined with this extremely serious atmosphere, will make those who come and feel like they are plunged into the sea. However, Guan Yue was not affected at all and looked around the room in a grand manner. His eyes swept across the faces of the captains, and his attitude was very calm. Well, they're all familiar faces, but the team is missing the figure of 4 captains. Not counting the captain of the 2nd Division, Yoruichi, the 3 captains of the 10th Division, 11th Division, and 12th Division were not present. I heard that the captain of the 10th Division was sacrificed. As for this generation's Kenpachi, it is estimated that he was too lazy to participate in the team's first meeting, and the 12th Division's Kiryu didn't come. It seems that he has left his post and is about to be promoted to the Spirit King Palace. Guan Yue thought to himself, as soon as Hikafi and Kiryu left, Urahara Kisuke was about to take office. Just knowing this, he has a spectrum in his heart. 2nd Division Captain Shihoin Yoruichi brought his subordinates to report. While Guan Yue was thinking, Yoruichi also greeted the captain. The attitude is still respectful. It seems that she also knows not to be too casual in front of the captain. Captain Yamamoto opened his eyes slightly, and the eyes of Furue Mubwa were watching Guan Yue and the 3 of them. According to the previous report, the 2nd Division encountered an ambush by the Menos Grande group when they were out for exercise. Could this be the case? Sorry, Captain. It was my fault to let Menos Grande do things in my 2nd Division's jurisdiction. Yoruichi admits his mistake first when he comes up. Guan Yue, who was beside him, couldn't help but murmured in his heart. He knew where Bro B's paranoid sense of responsibility came from, but Yoruichi's positive admission of fault was not because of the so-called sense of responsibility, but to block the mouth of the captain. It's not good to blame her again. As expected of a cat-like woman, in contrast to Urahara Kisuke, she is very shrewd in handling relationships. It is never a matter of a day or two to disturb the order of her Kongai. Fortunately, the hidden dangers are eliminated before causing serious harm. This decision is worthy of the name of the captain, so this old man does not think you have any fault. Sure enough, the commander-in-chief didn't even say a word of reproach, and praised Yoruichi's staunch style of leading his team to go deep into the enemy's line and eradicate hidden dangers in one fell swoop. As everyone knows, Yoruichi actually wanted to let the team members, by the way, clean up the lurking, remaining defeated soldiers while performing martial arts at the beginning, but the result was almost taken by Sailaporo to clean up. In this regard, Guan Yue and Urahara Kisuke looked at the nose and thought they knew nothing. Yoruichi said solemnly, "Yes." In addition, regarding the situation of this battle, the enemy claimed to be the chief researcher under the ruler of Hueco Mundo, named Sailaporo. According to him, the main purpose of this operation was to capture Shinigami for research, so he deliberately dispatched false harassment to the squad area, trying to induce me, as the captain, to lead a large force to encircle and suppress it. It was a fluke. I thought I would never be able to come back. After all, the superior Menos Grande was my opponent, and I was too young to be the captain for only 10 years. Fortunately, with the assistance of these two subordinates by my side, I was able to defeat my opponent, and the Menos Grande group under its command was wiped out. As soon as the word Superior Menos Grande came out, the atmosphere in the conference room changed suddenly. The captains had different expressions. Although I had received reports from the secret mobile team that stayed behind and the Ryatsu Supervision Department in advance, and the general situation was very clear, the same words were spoken by different people, and the feelings were different. They could even smell the rust smell from Yoruichi et al. And the lingering Ryatsu residue. The quality and complexity of these residues alone are staggering. As if flowing from endless artillery fire, the messy weapons left messy traces. You can imagine the intensity of the battle at that time. Vasto Lord, really an extraordinary opponent. Shinigami, who can kill such a strong enemy, is one of the few in the history of our team that has been waiting for Godei 13 for thousands of years, and it is enough to rely on the assistance of two subordinates to do this. Proud, the commander-in-chief said softly. It is not difficult to hear praise in the calm words. Yeah, the last person to kill Vasto Lord was Kenpachi Karyashiki. If you think about it, he also said that after 100 years and 200 years, other captains, vice captains, and even officers might be able to easily kill Menos Grande. Let's not talk about Captain Yoruichi. The two subordinates around you are not even the vice captain. It seems that he has said that, is the intuition of the guy who is good at fighting so terrifying? This is already the category of predicting the future, right? Kairaka Shunsui raised the brim of his hat with his fingers, and memories of the past flashed in his eyes. Hirako Shinji also shrugged and said in his unique tone, "This time the secret mobile team is about to turn over. Who would dare to say that the second team is just a sinister villain who can only stab people in the back? If I could really assassinate my superior Menos Grande, I would be scared to sleep at night." Although he knew that he had no malicious intentions, his tone and words really had the taste of an onmyoji. It can only be said that Hiyori likes to kick him for no reason. Yoruichi showed an embarrassed expression and said, Actually, I was just covering up. Let me introduce to you. The one on my left is Urahara Kisuke, the third seed of the second division, and the one on the right is this young man, who is only recently this year's spiritual arts graduate Guan Yue, who joined the team, has won this great victory because of their ingenuity and penultimate strength. Guan Yue and Urahara Kisuke stepped forward and bowed slightly. The expressions of the captains, including the chief captain, froze. 3 seats? Graduate? This status is naturally low compared to them, but that's not the point. The point is that Yoruichi said they both played a key role. When something like resourcefulness is placed in battle, it can only work if there is a similar difference in strength between the two sides. That is to say, the two of them have the ability to pose a threat to Vasto Lord, who is equivalent to the combined strength of several captains. 2 captain-level combat power? Think about it. Although the other party claims to be a researcher, there is a possibility that he is not good at head-to-head combat. But after all, he is Vasto Lord, and he has a smart brain. This type is the most difficult. What can you do if you don't have enough resourcefulness and captain-level combat power? 3 captains win a Vasto Lord, which makes sense. But this is reasonable and reasonable. The problem is that one of the 3 is a 3-seat and one is a graduate of this year. The former is okay to say. Urahara Kisuke and Yoruichi are the same students, the old man of the second team. It is not surprising. But when will even graduates have this level? In the impression of many captains, the most outstanding student of the Spiritual Arts Academy is Ikamaru Jin, a super genius who directly joins the team after graduating 1 year. This is already a special case of a special case. Normally, students of the Spiritual Arts Academy may not be able to enter Godai 13 after graduation. They need to pass the entrance examination, and most of them often fail to pass in one go. Those who can pass in one pass, or even receive invitations to join the team before graduation, are basically the stars that the grassroots Shinigami groups look up to. If those people are stars, and Ikamaru Jin is a special case among special cases, a genius among geniuses, then what is this quiet boy of 15 or 16 years old in front of him? A monster in human skin? Celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time, October 1st to October 7th, 27. Promotion to get rich to send sister? Oh, ha ha. I knew that I could see interesting reactions after I said it, especially the chief captain. It was the first time I could see his expression change other than being angry. Time came to the second day, the second team. A loft stands between the corridors, with ancient wood color and dazzling gold leaf, surrounded by green pines, and the captain's office is on the top floor, which has the feeling of neon Kyoto Golden Pavilion Temple. Yoruichi slumped on the seat with a sloppy posture, and let out a wild laughter that was not very ladylike. The 2 rows of guards in front of him and below him sat upright, silent as a statue. And the only one who dared to speak out, Broken B, was too lazy to do pointless actions because he was already numb to it. Guan Yue should have been among them, but Yoruichi forced him and Urahara Kisuke over to chat and had to sit in front of her. A small table is separated from each other, and there is a cup of tea on the table. Suddenly, he changed from a guard to a guest. Guan Yu only felt that Brobe's gaze behind him was a bit stinging. Miss Yoruichi called me here to say that, right? I haven't slept well all night. Urahara Kisuke had 2 dark circles under his eyes. His expression was lethargic, and his speech was weak. You guys don't do weird experiments for another night, do you? Yoruichi squinted at him. No, it's actually because of yesterday's battle. She clearly shouted Bankai, but she didn't release her. Hongji was a little angry, and it took a long time to coax her. What a weird reason. Guan Yu shook his head speechlessly, but he wasn't idle either. After returning to the dorm, deal with Sail-Aporo's soul. It cannot always be placed in Zanpakutō, and it is not used as a tonic for Juowu. Because I didn't think of how to play its value for the time being, I used the blue hand that modified the soul in double hands to turn Sail-Aporo's soul into a shape similar to Hyaku, which is convenient to carry around. Your red princess is just dissatisfied with her desires. Who told her that her master is a guy who doesn't like to move. As a friend, I can't sit and watch you fall, so Kisuke, I came to you today to provide a new job. Yoruichi gave a sly smile. Isn't this the captain of the 12th division who is going to be promoted? How about you? Go and take her place. Promotion. Oh, that. But Yoruichi-san, do you want me to be the captain of the 12th division? Urahara Kisuke pointed to his nose with an exaggerated expression, as if saying, do you think someone like me can be a captain? Yesterday you saw that Captain Hikishu didn't attend. I guess the captain will start the selection of the captain in the next 2 days. I will recommend you to him as soon as possible. This matter is not discussed. Don't forget that she has received a lot of favors from others, and she can't take care of some close people after she leaves. Are you willing to let someone who doesn't know the details take over the 12th division? Yoruichi was very casual at first, and the more she spoke, the more dull her tone became, and it was obvious that she was serious. Urahara Kisuke was silent. Guan Yu didn't say a word when he drank tea by himself. It had nothing to do with him. Okay, I will take this matter seriously, but I can't guarantee that I will pass the captain's exam. After all, if someone who knows Bankai can be the captain, then this position is too impersonal. Urahara Kasuke touched the back of his head and let out a sigh of resignation. Yoruichi narrowed his eyes, and there was a dangerous tone in his tone. Even if you don't know Bankai, I think you can be the captain and have some confidence in yourself. Kasuke, don't forget that you are the person I recommended. If you fail the list, you are not alone in losing your face. Urahara Kasuke's mood became more and more bitter, and he lowered his head and looked at the reflection on the teacup, as if to sympathize with himself in the reflection. Your business is over. Now it's your turn, Guan Yue. Yoruichi turned his eyes to Guan Yue, who was watching the fun. Captain, you said, although the performance was destroyed in the middle of the performance, everyone can see your performance. It just so happens that Kasuke is going to be the captain of the 12th division. You will take his place. You will be the 2nd division from tomorrow, the 3rd seat and the commander of the Secret Mobility 3rd Squadron. Lord Yoruichi, this is too sudden. Guan Yue has only joined the team for less than half a month, and he has absolutely no understanding of the team's affairs and the internal situation of Secret Mobility. Broken Bee was shocked when she heard the words and quickly got up to dissuade her. If there are only 3 seats, it is more than enough to replace that man with his strength. But the task of the sub-team leader is very important, and it is too early for Guan Yue to take on this responsibility. Secret Mobility. It is divided into 5 divisions. The 1st division, Xingjuan, its responsibilities, needless to say. The 2nd division police team is responsible for the security management in Syrii. It is slightly different from other divisions, more like plainclothes patrolmen. The main task of the 3rd detachment is to capture some of the black sheep found by the police team and lock them into the maggot's nest, which is somewhat similar to the feeling of national security. The status of the 4th detachment is unknown, but Guan Yue once heard Broken Bee say that it exists in the shadows, and the team name cannot be revealed, so as not to let people know its function and affect the members of the detachment to perform their tasks. The 5th division, Lighting, acted as a messenger and conveyed urgent information to all corners of Syrii as quickly as possible. Usually when they were required to go out, they were delivering some bad news. Among them, the 1st team has always been the commander-in-chief of Secret Mobility, and the 2nd team has the deputy captain Omida Nozomi as the team leader, and the 3rd team's team leader corresponds to the 3rd seat, and so on. None of the senior officers of the 2nd division were idle. Yoruichi waved his hand in disapproval. It's all right, the team's mission is to arrest people after all, and Guan Yu's kid is just right for this. On this point, Broken Bee also agrees, but the management of the maggot nest has a hard requirement on white hits technology. Speaking of this, Guan Yue also remembered. The fact that the team wants to arrest people and put them in the maggot nest means that they need to manage the group of dangerous elements, and it can be stipulated that Zanpakutō is prohibited from entering the maggot nest. And due to the special environment, Kid is not allowed. Therefore, each sub-captain of the squatting team is a first-class white hits master, able to settle all prisoners alone. Guan Yu's current captain-level strength is almost entirely supported by Kid. The level of white hits and slashing skills is extremely limited. You're right about Broken Bee. Yoruichi nodded and smiled with interest. That's why I decided to let you, the former boss, serve as the sub-commander's lieutenant. From now on, the 2 of you will work together. With your help, Guan Yue will be able to exercise his work ability well and accumulate experience for one day to be promoted to captain. Aren't you always his guide and mentor? You have to do things from beginning to end. I'm doing this for your own good. So just work hard and try to be a good sister, Broken Bee. Celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time, October 1st to October 7th, 28. Small but great ambitions. A few days later, the selection of captains began. Before finding a suitable candidate for the captain of the 10th Division, Kiryu Hibien was promoted and transferred, resulting in a gap in the 12th Division, which naturally attracted the attention of the captain of Yamamoto. Start the selection of a new captain immediately. Yoruichi pushed Urahara Kasuke out the first time, and then approved to take the captain's test the next day, and even the test time was set on the same day. That's it. Guan Yu's dormitory. Broken Bee leaned against the Japanese sliding door with her arms in her arms, pursing her lips tightly, and could see that she was quite depressed. Yuruchi-sama asked us to watch the scene, but I refused. Why did you refuse? Guan Yue asked without looking up. He is sitting at the table, practicing calligraphy. I think doing this is conducive to sharpening the mood and can better understand the essence of the 8 wonders. After all, you can see that Aizen is also a calligraphy teacher who is well known as Seriidii. It's not that the man Urahara Kisuke left his post without finishing a case, and now we want us to clean up the mess for him. Broken B snorted coldly. Is it about that secret organization? Guan Yu paused, recalling the files he had read in the past 2 days. In order to be a good leader of this secret mobility 3rd division, in addition to his daily practice, he has been looking up the action records of previous years. From this, we can understand the specific operation mode of the management team and learn management experience. As for other affairs, it is temporarily arranged by Broken B. As far as the recent case is concerned, there is only one case that Urahara Kisuke has handled but has not had time to deal with. The task of the squadron is to secretly arrest some potential harmful elements, and the leader of the secret organization keeps secretly recruiting some Shinigami who are powerful in various divisions, but unsatisfied due to factors such as personality defects. There is every reason to think that what bad intentions are there for Godii, 13, and Seriidii. Even if it doesn't, it's a safety hazard to leave it alone. Instead of waiting until it erupts to deal with it, it's better to forcibly imprison the fire of sin that has not yet been ignited. Strictly speaking, it's a little unfair to them, but the peace of Seriidii and the glory of many Shinigami sacrifices should not be tarnished. Guan Yu, since you joined the 2nd Division team, you may be repulsive to certain practices of secret movement, but since you are sitting in this position, you must be aware of it. Lord Yuruchi is quite concerned about this matter. Pay attention to. Broken B rarely said so much in one breath, and it's not a stern rebuke, and the tone is quite calm. I don't know if I took Yuruchi's joke, try to be a good older sister, seriously, but she seems to be a bit of a guardian. Sister Broken B, sometimes I like the style of Room 46. Guan Yu gently put down the wolf pen, picked up the Juwu that was on the side, and got up. If you discover hidden dangers, you can immediately eliminate them. No matter whether there is room for maneuver, you will not lose if you don't gamble. Although this kind of cold approach is not human, it is also out of love, and it can make most people give up the idea of doing wrong, because they know they can get killed before their plans succeed. Speaking of this, Guan Yu turned his head and showed the usual quiet smile to Broken B. On the other hand, the guy who knows this but still insists on it to the end is either the idiot who is passionate and determined to fight to the end, or the ambitious person. I won't have any psychological burden on these 2 kinds of people. Justifiable defense? Do you have to be stabbed to fight back? Or even fight each other? Guan Yu has seen and experienced relatively fair rules, but sometimes such rules are more chilling. On the other hand, look at the style of doing things in Room 46 or Seriidii. Extreme, and sometimes make various judgments against morality, but this also means that as long as you become a decision maker, you can have the right to act arbitrarily without being harmed by it. He didn't want to be a good person, and he didn't have the lofty ambitions of Aizen and Yohabak, because just being able to live well is enough to fight for it for the rest of his life. Broken B was startled. She suddenly felt that it was not difficult for her to be transferred from Yuruchi-sama to assist her former subordinate. Dong, dong, dong. Suddenly, there was the sound of hurried footsteps in the corridor outside. Under the sunlight, a figure could be seen walking quickly and kneeling outside the door. Report! The squad leader, the deputy squad leader, and the team members in charge of monitoring have heard the news that they have found the secret base of the group and asked for the next step. As expected of the subordinates brought out by Urahara, the efficiency is quite fast. Guan Yu was a little surprised. Broken B coughed. However, it's more that senior sister Broken B is well led, worthy of being an old criminal army. It's nothing, it's all part of the deal. Having said that, Guan Yu clearly captured the slightly raised corner of her mouth. Yuruchi, who is as incomprehensible as a cat, is just the opposite. Broken B's mind is too good-looking and honest, not like a normal girl. If you want to say it, it's like a knife straight to the point. Dirty, it is easy to see, and after wiping it, the cold light shines everywhere. as if to boast of his sharpness. "Let's go. Try to get rid of this group before Captain Yuruchi returns." Guan Yu wiggled his sleeves, opened the door, and stepped into the sunlight. Celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time, October 1st to October 7th, 29. Once an old acquaintance, North Rakangai District 1. It is densely populated and has a lot of traffic, and it is close to Siri-IDI. Guan Yu thinks there is no problem with setting up a secret base in this area. However, the organizers and their members underestimated the intelligence-gathering capabilities of secret mobility. Urahara Kasuk had already done the investigation and just waited until they got together to catch them all. At this point, what kind of mess is it? Guan Yu felt that this was clearly a door-to-door achievement. In a silent bamboo forest, Guan Yu and Broken Bee gathered here with 7 or 8 team members. Broken Bee stared at the wooden house in the open space not far away and asked in a low voice, "Is everyone here?" "It's all here." The players responded immediately. "That's good, so you don't have to make another trip." Broken Bee asked if all the people at the secret meeting were there. After monitoring them for so long, the team has already figured out the number and identities of their members. They didn't make scattered arrests, but just wanted to see if they could catch more fish. At present, even if there is, it is a newcomer who has just been brought in, so there is no need for fishing. Sub-Commander, give the order to break in. Broken Bee turned to look at Guan Yu, who was quiet beside him. If someone who didn't know it saw this, he thought he was just an ordinary player, and Broken Bee was the team leader. "Isn't breaking into the enemy's trap now?" Guan Yu denied Bro Bee's opinion. As if confirming his words, suddenly a powerful Ryatsu fell down, emanating from the wooden house. Not one person, but multiple Ryatsu mixed together. Although the quality is not very good, the quantity is close to the captain level. I was discovered. It seems that there are people who are good at Kid, but are they trying to scare us away by showing their presence so blatantly? Broken Bee's expression sank. Having experienced the Ryatsu baptism of Sailaporo and Guan Yu, Yuruchi, Urahara, now she doesn't care about this level of Ryatsu at all. Although the intensity is quite impressive, it has a stern taste. No, they are provocative. Guan Yu looked at the wooden house and said, "This group of people knows Godei 13 style too well. They know that they won't retreat by intimidation. Besides, can't we call for support if we can't fight? So intimidation is meaningless. Of course, provocation is meaningless." Speaking of which, he raised his right hand. Also released his own Ryatsu. Boom! The Broken Bee and the team members standing beside Guan Yu felt as if they were caught in a gust of wind and waves for a moment. Although it was not aimed at them and deliberately focused forward, the residual momentum was still trembling. The opponent's impressive Ryatsu only resisted for a second before being smashed by the ravages. Bamboo leaves fell, the dust on the ground was clinging to the ground, and the wooden house was creaking, ready to collapse at any time. Afterwards, Guan Yu tapped the void with his fingers, and there was no movement at all, and a pitch-black amulet the size of a human head condensed out of thin air. The spirit talisman exudes black energy, and every strand seems to be of great importance. The 90 of had Black Coffin. Guan Yu gave up the chant and performed the high-level had that he had learned recently. It even used the technique of additional chant to further strengthen the effect of the magic charm, Black Coffin, making it a quarter higher than the complete body. Countless pitch-black lines filled the space in an instant, forming along the trajectory of straight edges and acute angles. Not to mention the 10-meter-high black building, where the coffin shrouds the entire wooden house. Silence lasted only for a moment. There was no exaggerated movement, and no aftermath swept through the surroundings. When the black coffin that buried the death dissipated like a shadow, only the ruins and wreckage were left, and a few criminals dressed as death tyrants fell among the wreckage. They were covered in bruises and wounds. Compared with countless knives, it was more like the body could not bear the sudden torrent of pressure, causing the body to begin to collapse and disintegrate. The surrounding team members reacted and rushed forward to arrest them. So many high-ranking Shinigamis were settled with just one shot of Kid. Yuruchi-sama is right. In a sense, you are indeed very suitable for the arrest mission. Broken Bee looked at the people who were caught and put in shackles, and was completely convinced. Guan Yu was about to answer when a weak voice suddenly came from beside him. "You are Guan Yu." Guan Yu glanced away. The speaker was one of the shackled and dangerous elements. Although the delicate face was covered in blood and ashes, he still recognized his identity at a glance. Murakami-senpai. Not Suki Murakami, one of the countless nameless people not mentioned in the original book. When Guan Yu entered the Spiritual Arts Academy, this senior was already the 6th rebirth. That year, she and 2 other 6 rebirths led Guan Yu and other reincarnations to the present world for the practice of soul burial ceremony. This is how the two met. Guan Yu's appearance is excellent, and his character, words, and deeds are very mature, which makes Murakami Natsuki very fond of this well-behaved junior. He occasionally brings him to meet with his classmates, and he also teaches some basics of slashing fists and walking ghosts that only seniors can contact. But the good times didn't last long. This warm-hearted senior sister graduated and joined the 11th team. It is said to inherit the legacy of his brother. On the eve of graduation, Guan Yu also heard that she was doing a good job, and she was responsible for the logistics of the 11th team, which made the gang of fighting madmen gradually like the comfortable life of someone who does chores and can focus on fighting. It is not something that ordinary people can do to gain a firm foothold in the 11th Division without relying on appearance or combat power. However, in the end, they meet again in this situation. When I saw the name on the watch list, I thought it was the same name. Unlike you, I recognize your Ryatsu right away, but I'd rather admit I was wrong. You've become stronger and stranger. The bruised woman showed a miserable smile. It doesn't matter. I will stay in the maggot's nest in the future, where the dangerous elements like you are imprisoned, and we will have time to get acquainted with each other. After Guan Yu finished speaking, he directly waved his hand and motioned for the team members to take him away. The broken bee on the side said leisurely at this time, "I've seen too many times when I was in Xingju and killing people I know, or being killed by someone I know, how quickly you can overcome psychological obstacles. To be commended. After that, I'll take you to a shop that I think is not bad for a taste of early adopters. It's also a belated promotion, congratulations. First of all, I don't like eating meatballs." Guan Yu readily accepted her kindness. Who would make meatballs a staple? Ha! Broken Bee rolled his eyes. Afterwards, the two returned to Siriidi with their team members to escort a group of prisoners. Originally, before being sent to the maggot nest, it was necessary to go to the Comprehensive Treatment Center of the 4th Division to prevent these people from dying from their injuries. But Guan Yu's double hands is not a decoration. Blue hands govern the soul, and red hands govern the body. He could easily become the strongest healer in the Soul Society if he wanted to. Shinigami. Treating an injury couldn't be easier. However, on the way back to the 2nd team, Guan Yu and others were stopped by a group of people celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time. October 1st to October 7th, 30. You are also worthy of my BB? There was a sound of chaotic footsteps. From the front and rear corners of the main road, a group of Shinigami dressed in death fighters with a sealed stade across their waists suddenly appeared. Even on the walls on both sides, many people jumped up, either standing or squatting. One by one looked badly at Guan Yu and the others. This scene reminds Guan Yu of the young and dangerous movie he watched in his previous life, where a group of big brothers and younger brothers go to ambush the core characters of other gangs. But the problem is, this is Siriidi, and the one wearing black with a knife should be a policeman. Which squad are you from? Broken Bee frowned and asked loudly. This group of Shinigami has no sleeve cards or familiar faces, but this reckless style is very similar to a certain squad. This uncle is from the 11th team. The 15th seat of the 11th Division, Kintaro, is here. Really? Hearing their proud self-declaration, Guan Yu's eyes flashed with understanding. Among the 13 divisions, the people belonging to the 11th Division are the most unreasonable. They're the most aggressive when fighting, and they are often there when they commit crimes. No way. Who made their captain have the title of the strongest Shinigami? Even the 46th room will open one eye and close the other. This also contributed to their arrogance. But fortunately, it's not entirely an idiot in the end, and it's annoying at best, the type that keeps making small mistakes and doesn't make big mistakes. What is the purpose of the people from the 11th Division blocking us? We belong to the 2nd Division's secret mobility and are carrying out important tasks. Broken Bee took a deep breath and continued to question while holding back his anger. I made them do it, Call. The breath of speaking? No. It was Ryatsu who roared like a gust of wind, violent and scorching hot. Even if you have never met, you can feel the surly temperament of his master in this Ryatsu. Guan Yue raised his eyelids lightly and saw that the members of the 11th team who were intercepting in front of them all took the initiative to move out of the way with expressions of awe, and Roshan slowly approached with heavy steps. This meat mountain is 3 meters high, and its body is even more exaggerated than Omida. Its weight is more than 300 kilograms. The whole body looks bloated, but it is actually very textured. Obviously, it is not fat but terrifying muscles. Every step leaves tiny cracks in the flat main road tiles. He has a ferocious appearance, and even though he wears Captain Yuri, he exudes a bandit vibe. You are Ghost Rock City Kenpachi. Broken Bee recognized him at a glance. Because each generation of Kenpachi is quite recognizable, even people who are not interested are often forced to recognize their existence. Boy, where do you want to take my people? Ghost Rock City glanced at Broken Bee and ignored it. You can tell who is stronger here by resisting Ryatsu's reaction, and he only speaks to the strong. Guan Yu pressed Bro Bee's shoulders and made her back, while he looked up and looked at Kenpachi of Ghost Rock City dignifiedly. Your person? The moment I was caught, no one said that, so I didn't ask who you came to look for. Now turn around and leave. I will treat you as never. But if you continue to delay my schedule, you have to be careful about that feather weave on your body. What? How dare you threaten the captain? A mere stealth maneuver. A group of rats in the sewers dare to grin at the people of our 11th Division? Captain, let me teach this arrogant kid a lesson. It can be seen that Guan has a lot of prestige in the team. Before he said a word, some of the hot-tempered players began to clamor, and even planned to have a man-to-man duel with Guan Yu. It's no wonder that Ghost Rock City is the 10th generation Kenpachi. Before that, the 9th generation Kenpachi was imprisoned because the former captain, the 8th generation Kenpachi, committed a crime. So he was promoted to the captain as the deputy captain, and he also took over. Named Kenpachi. However, his strength is not even at the captain level, and he cannot be recognized by the team members, nor can he be recognized by other captains. This is a shame for the people of the 11th team. Therefore, when Ghost Rock City turned out and killed the 9th generation Kenpachi, it was more of a surprise than sadness. Even if this captain has an arrogant and rude temper, he is a man who restores the dignity of the battle squad to the team members. That alone makes it worth following. Guan Yu couldn't understand their thoughts and didn't want to. He just turned his eyes away from Ghost Rock City and swept to a certain soldier who declared war. His cold eyes seemed to be looking at a dead person. I'm talking to your captain, and you gangsters dare to interrupt? As soon as the light words came out, a terrifying Ryatsu that was heavier and larger than the Ryatsu previously released by Ghost Rock City smashed down, and even the clouds in the sky were caught alive, staying in place and unable to move. When the motion of matter stops, time also loses its meaning. The air is stagnant, and inhaling the lungs will petrify the internal organs, which will spread to the whole body and awaken the most primitive fear. In order to resist this death-like rigidity, every cell and nerve, including blood, began to tremble, trying to squeeze every ounce of strength to get rid of the influence of this Ryatsu, which pierced through the body and mind like a thunderbolt. The faces of the 11th team members around them were blue and trembling. Whether they were arrogant in the past, they were all insignificant things in front of Guan Yu's Ryatsu. The team members on the wall were the most miserable. All of them were either lying on top of them, unable to straighten their backs, or fell from them. The team member who was supposed to duel with Guan Yu even fainted on the spot. Although it has only been a few days since he played against Sayo Laporo, how can Guan Yu's improvement speed be comparable to that of ordinary people? His current Ryatsu is above the normal captain level, coupled with the absolute dominance of Ki Origin Stream over the Ryatsu. He can use 1 point of Ryatsu to exert 2 points of power, and the surrounding Ryatsu are all on his side. This means that these people are not only under the Ryatsu of Guan Yu, but also under the oppression of this space and environment. Stop talking about them. Ghost Rock City's face was not very good looking. For the first time, he felt how inconvenient this body was, so heavy that his feet gradually fell into the ground. But compared to this, what he cared more about was the young man in front of him. It looks very young, and even if it is a genius in terms of the growth and changes of the soul, it is not necessarily a genius. After all, the potential spiritual power is only the potential spiritual power. Unexpectedly, it can be done to such an extent. This Ryatsu has clearly surpassed him. The terrifying pressure dissipated in just a few seconds, because Guan Yue restrained his Ryatsu. Just for warning, and if it lasts for too long, even if it is deliberately controlled, Broken B and the other team members will not feel much better, and the scarred prisoners may die suddenly. Although the pressure was gone, none of the 11th team members dared to say a word, and looked at Guan Yue with fearful eyes. Celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time, October 1st to October 7th, 31. You should be glad you didn't bring Zanpakutō. What are you going to do, Captain Ghost Rock City? Are you going to fight me here? Guan Yu's straightforward words made Guan forehead burst into blue veins, and his right hand reflexively touched his waist, but he felt empty, and he couldn't help being surprised. He reacted instantly, knowing that he was in a hurry to go out, leaving Zanpakutō in the team building. Now it's troublesome. Without Zanpakutō, his strength would be weakened by at least 70%, and there was almost no chance of winning against a character of the same level. A drop of cold sweat oozing out at some point slipped down his temples. For a time, Ghost Rock City was a bit difficult to ride a tiger. His eyes crossed Guan Yue and landed on the escort team behind him. There was a prisoner girl. Her hands and feet were wearing special shackles mixed with murderous stones. It seemed that she had suffered serious injuries and was weak to the naked eye. Now she was hit by Ryatsu from Guan Yue and Ghost Rock City one after another. Her face was as pale as paper, without the slightest bit of blood. Even if he fainted in the next second, it wouldn't be surprising. But even so, she still gritted her teeth and persevered. This person is Natsuki Murakami, an old friend of Guan Yue. Facing the boss's gaze, the girl shook her head very hard, tears flashing in her eyes. When she saw her colleagues came to rescue her, she couldn't help but regret her decision to join the secret gang. The more this is the case, the more they can no longer be involved. Ghost Rock City clenched his fists, his breathing became heavier, and his eyes were bloodshot. The Ryatsu on his body also became unstable, like an active volcano brewing about to erupt. Seeing his reaction, Broken B and the rest of the squad looked like they were facing a big enemy. Instead, it was Guan Yue who stared at Ghost Rock City for a while, then said in a low voice, I see. After finishing speaking, he beckoned to signal Bro B and the others behind him to move on. Broken B seemed to see something. The corners of his mouth were slightly raised, and he led the team forward without any hesitation. He turned a blind eye to the Ghost Rock City that looked like a mountain of meat in front of him. There is neither fear nor hostility. Broken B and the others simply avoided the obstacles in front of them. It's as natural as breathing. This seemingly weak move is even more ironic in the eyes of the 11th team than directly kicking their own captain. But unfortunately, the soldiers around Ghost Rock City also shrank and retreated to both sides. As if they were facing a group of floods and beasts, they subconsciously wanted to stay away. Seeing the scene, a little bit of anger was instantly extinguished. All the fighting spirit and fighting spirit are gone. In this strange and deadly atmosphere created by the artificial, Guan Yue also followed at the end of the team and prepared to leave. However, when passing by Ghost Rock City, the pace stopped. You might blame Zanpakutō for the loss, but what I'm telling you is, you should be lucky if you brought more people. If you didn't forget Zanpakutō, then the Heiori on you might have to be taken off. I don't mean that the general meeting will attract the chief captain or the 46th room's major punishment to make you retire from the team, etc. I'm talking about Dash at that moment, rather than Dietering. I personally would be more inclined to step over your corpse. Popping, Guan Yue raised his hand and patted the arm of the big man beside him, as if to say, take care of yourself. When his figure was far away, suddenly, with a bang, the sealed state in someone's hand fell to the ground. Most people just glanced and hung their heads, Captain? Miss Murakami really doesn't care. A capable-looking Shinigami walked up to Ghost Rock Castle and asked carefully, "What's the matter? Being caught is her own problem, not ours. It's a moral act to come and see her." Ghost Rock City's tone was irritable, and the turbid air he spit out seemed to carry sparks. "It's that kid who dares to look down on me, Shinigami, the strongest hero in Godai 13. I'll get the debt back sooner or later, and I'll let him know who he has provoked." Just when Guan Yue and Ghost Rock City clashed, their unparalleled Ryatsu was also felt by countless people. Most of them were terrified, and a few were also worried. The fifth squad. What are those two guys doing? It's a foul to fight in Siriidii when there is no war. Shouldn't we wait for the captains to stop it? Should I stay away now? I'll have an excuse to say I didn't catch up in time. Hirako Shinji was sitting in the hallway, looking in the direction Ryatsu came from with drooping brows. His words were full of boredom and helplessness. What a fierce confrontation between Ryatsu. One is the captain of Ghost Rock City, and the other is the genius boy mentioned by the captain. It seems that the rumors are true. It is indeed Ryatsu who is far superior to my vice captain. It's really embarrassing to think about the other person's age. Aizen, who was passing by holding the document, sighed softly. So, Sook, you have to work harder. Don't be compared by the newcomers. I'm still waiting for you to finish today's teamwork and take you to find someone to drink tea. Hirako Shinji gave him a sideways glance and urged. In this regard, Aizen had a wry smile on his face, although he was the captain. But he was left to the vice captain to handle it. And he was also named "Give you a chance to exercise," which made people unable to say anything to refuse. But is he a super genius who is better than Silver, who can kill the original third seat and replace him when he joins the team? What a clear and pure spiritual power. It's not like a color that an individual life can have. On the other side, the captain's test site in the first team building, headed by Captain Yamamoto, for Captains Yoruichi, Unohana Retsu, and Kachiki Inling gathered together to form the team for the captain examination. Urahara Kasuke sat upright, ready for the exam. When the familiar Ryatsu vibrated in the distance, a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. He looked at Yoruichi subconsciously and found that her reaction was similar to his own. The secret arrest work has made such a big commotion. Yoruichi clutched his forehead, feeling a dull pain in his temples. Ryatsu has calmed down. It seems that the two sides are still in control. Captain Shun, your subordinates seem to be very measured, and you are completely opposite to you before you became the captain. Maybe you should trust him more. Unohana Retsu speaks softly, even teasing and joking like a spring breeze, making people not angry at all. Captain Uzahoa, that kid is not as honest as he seems. Yoruichi had more headaches. Captain Yamamoto suddenly said, "Shoin Yoruichi, do you think your subordinate Guan Yue is qualified to be the captain of the 10th Division?" Several people present were surprised. Well, Yoruichi frowned and said, rather troubled, "If you are a deputy kid or kid, you can try it, but being a captain is still not enough. If nothing else, Bankai is a good option. It's not going to be done in a while." It turns out that the old man is a little too hasty. It seems that another person has to be found. Captain Yamamoto was as calm as ever. Okay, let's move on to the test. Let's see what the people recommended by Shihoin Yoruichi are capable of. Yes. Urahara Kasuke bowed his head in response, his posture calm. Because of Guan Yu's interruption, he had enough time to temporarily adjust his mood. Although it's unintentional, I have to say that it's a great support. This exam, I won it, celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time, October 1st to October 7th, 32. More and more like a cultivator, Guan Yu didn't care whether Urahara Kasuke could pass the captain's exam. It's hard to live with a genius with a higher IQ than Aizen in the district captain's exam. Instead of worrying about his future, it is better to focus on how to improve your own strength. I didn't get the 8 magic skills for a long time, and most of them stayed at the stage of just tasting it. After all, not everyone can combine what I have learned like Tongshinlu and quickly form a mature set of skills. Combat system. Therefore, the easiest and most direct way to improve your strength is to develop the other 7 different techniques like you did with Tongshinlu. You don't need to be able to integrate into the combat system, and it doesn't matter if you don't have lethality. At least you have to tap into their potential value. This is also a kind of accumulation in disguise for me. It's arguably what I'm missing the most right now. The maggot nest is located in the northwest of the 2nd Division's building, surrounded by a huge moat in the center. Since it is built underground, in addition to the nickname of Maggot Nest, there is also an official name called Underground Special Threshold. Guan Yue sat cross-legged on the top of the cliff at the top of the entrance, as if he was practicing sword meditation, without a trace of anxiety, just quietly thinking about his shortcomings and planning the next practice. He can already be indifferent to what the future holds. It doesn't matter if it changes or doesn't change. Creatures have an innate thirst for power, which in Shiro Ichigo's words is instinct. People who are happy because of breathing probably don't exist. But the spiritual satisfaction of eating is the norm. Compared with pure food, strength is the food that can best satisfy the survival instinct. Guan Yue put his hands together. A fiery red Ryatsu is wrapped around the right hand, and a blue Ryatsu is wrapped around the left. Then inhale slowly. The sound of breathing was light, but he took this breath for 3 minutes. The spirits in the atmosphere are also inhaled into the body along with the air. When the spiritualization circulation system of Lu Ku Xian Thief is activated, these spirits will be transported to every corner of the body. If someone is watching, they will find that Guan Yu's skin is actually shining brightly, as clear as bright jade. Under the light, the blood vessels are clearly visible, and the spirits are flowing in them, making the blood vessels also show a silvery blue. If this bystander was a Quincy of the Invisible Empire, he would be even more astonished because this form of expression is as much as 70% similar to the blood suit they use to strengthen the body. The remaining 30% is too passive. The real blood suit is a highly subjective technology. It needs to be as organized, smooth, and concentrated as the circuit lines, forming a complete operating system, rather than simply injecting the spirit into the blood vessels. It works this way is feasible. Guan Yu felt the warmth of his body as if immersed in a hot spring. His pores were opened, and his energy was extremely energetic, even to the point of being called abnormal. He is doing experiments. Now that he has decided to enhance himself in all aspects by cultivating the remaining 8 wonders and enrich the skills he has learned, he will fill in the weakest fundamental part of himself as a false master kid. Then naturally come up with a reasonable learning method, so as not to delay the learning efficiency. The solution Guan Yu came up with is combination use. Use the 8 magic skills that you are good at to control the 8 magic skills that you are not good at. It seems to be more difficult and complicated than a single application, but in fact, these are all innate techniques, equivalent to special abilities, and the nature of the practice of combining the 2 acquired skills is completely different. It's a little more thoughtful to use. Sometimes, what is lacking is not proficiency, but a very special feeling. It's like something that feels the same. This situation has both advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is that once you catch it, there will be earth-shaking changes. The disadvantage is just the opposite. Maybe that's the difference between a genius and a mere mortal. Guan Yu also didn't complain about why the system didn't increase his proficiency when he renovated the 8 magic skills. After all, it wasn't a problem for him. No, it has been overcome. At the same time, use the red hand that modifies the body and the blue hand that modifies the soul, and activate the Lu Library Immortal Thief, using a large number of spirits inhaled in the body to adjust the structure chain of the spirit body and develop in the direction of Arankar. In this way, not only will the training in the early stage of double hands be settled, but also a physical ability comparable to or even surpassing that of Arankar. Guan Yu is quite satisfied. At the same time, I felt more and more like I was cultivating immortals, imitating the Quincy's blood outfit with the 8 wonders, and then transforming himself with reference to Arankar's body structure, to cultivate a body that is indestructible. But having said that, the efficiency of simply absorbing the spirits is still a bit poor. Maybe I can add the method of restricting the spirits to serve the spirits. Since you want to refer to Arankar's spiritual body structure, you might as well refer to the virtual growth route. Use the soul-rich and high-density Ryatsu as food, swallow it with the spiritual method, and then use Liku Immortal Thief to help absorb it completely. Finally, double full hands, will take over and use this part of the spiritual power to adjust the structural chain of the spiritual body. This triangular structure has to be said to be quite perfect. Each of them is actually a little lacking, but the advantages of each of them can just replace the shortcomings of other different techniques. The combination is a perfect connection, maximizing the benefits. Soul? Then do I want to eat Sailapora? But after eating him, my Zanpakut plan to break the limit will not progress so fast. Zanpakut is the most obvious change after absorbing the virtual Ryatsu. Wait, not right. Guan Yu suddenly remembered something. Shinigami's Zanpakut prototype, sealed state, is made of countless Shinigami souls, let alone where the two-house Guan Yu got so many Shinigami souls. But it can be seen from his approach that sealed state is essentially a collection of countless souls. So here comes the question. If you inject more souls into Zanpakut, can you expand the potential of Zanpakut just like expanding the computer space? Then continue to do the sword meditation and carve the essence of your own soul into it. Can you convert this part of potential into performance? And compared to Ryatsu on the surface, to reverse the essence of the soul, starting from the soul, is the most thorough way to break the limit. Aaron Carr's Zanpakut is also a form of compressing his core, part of his soul, into a sword. In other words, using void souls can also be made into Zanpakut, which can be liberated. Thinking of this, Guan Yu's heart pounded. He felt as if he had found a way to bring himself back. But that's not the point. The key point is that the nature of Jiuwu is relatively special, with strong compatibility and strong plasticity, which means that on the basis of Zanpakut itself, it can be transformed by using virtual souls, or even souls with Shinigami qualifications, or by smelting it. Describe it more appropriately, it is said that Shinigami's ultimate is a fusion of itself and Zanpakut, but now Guan Yu sees another way, a path that allows Zanpakut to practice as well. Celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time, October 1st to October 7th, 33. Slim Stove. Once the direction of cultivation has been identified, the rest is perseverance. There are 3 parts to the training plan before Guan Yu. The first, a triangular cycle consisting of spiritual detention, Lu Kushin thief, and double hands, a spiritual body transformation and enhancement plan. Second, collect a large number of souls, hand them over to Zanpakut, and use the method of serving the spirit to devour and absorb the Zanpakut enhancement plan. The third, hone the slashing fists and go ghosts, and at the same time use the spare time to develop the third gate special techniques, such as Fenghou Qimen, Sacred Machine Hundred Refinements, and Daluo Cave Temple. However, both the first plan and the second plan require a lot of souls, whether it is for themselves or Zanpakut. There is a big gap. To this end, Guan Yu took a trip to the Technology Development Bureau, just established by Urahara Kasuke, and ordered a batch of special modified souls as his own imitation of the virtual growth route, the souls that need to be swallowed. This kind of modified soul is very special. Although it is a soul, it is actually a high-density spiritual subcollection that exists in the form of a soul. It has no wisdom or thinking ability, and it is not even life. Just a simple puppet. Urahara Kasuke didn't let him down either. After all, he learned a lot of manufacturing techniques for temporary souls under the tutelage of Hikashi Kiryu. There is no technical difficulty in making this kind of thing. Speaking of which, Hikun Kiryu's temporary soul technique is similar to the principle of Guan Yu's body refining plan, which is to create pseudo-souls of high-density spiritual suns, make them into dishes, and then eat them into the stomach so that his Ryatsu can gain dimension. Sublimation. She also relied on this technology to advance to Team Zero. Guan Yu soon realized this, so he asked Urahara Kasuke to place a big order. Slim Stove. An underground training ground for the second team has now been turned into a private domain by Guan Yu for personal gain, with the purpose of building something. It can be roughly understood as a universal instrument that can arbitrarily process and transform people and objects. Guan Yu explained. Opposite him are Urahara Kasuke and Captain Hayori and his deputy Kurithushi Mayuri. Saratobi Hayori did not come. The reason is that I have no interest in the secret mobile nest and those messy research. Universal instrument? It sounds quite interesting. If it can be made, it will be equivalent to having a super assistant who can't move. No matter what experiment you do, you can save a lot of time and energy. While it's inevitable to miss out on the fun of the research process, for a scientist, it's the results that count. Kuretsuchi Mayuri, dressed as a weirdo, was very interested in Guan Yu's proposal. It's pretty good, but it always gives me a sense of crisis that I won't lose my job in the future. If this kind of automated equipment prevails, then one person can complete a huge experimental process in the shortest time. Is it time for Tech Development Bureau to lay off staff? Yurihara Kasuke, who, in contrast to Kuretsuchi Mayuri, is a researcher who is more interested than results. Assembly line, automation, these are contrary to his pursuit. But it cannot be denied that these things do bring convenience that far outweighs the disadvantages. If you refuse to help, I'll take this weirdo beside you back to the maggot nest. Guan Yu never misses the feelings of his former colleagues. But there is nothing to read. 2 months ago, Yurihara Kasuke went to the maggot's nest to hunt for people without the permission of the 46th room, nor a message from Yoruichi. But Guan Yu still let him go. The purpose is to make Yurihara Kasuke owe him a favor, so that it can be used when needed. For example now, hey, if you want to catch this man, you should catch this man. Kuretsuchi Mayuri jumped with anger. You listen to me, you catch him in, and when I take over everything from him, I will definitely be able to create a product that satisfies you with my technology. It's too much to say, Mr. Nye. Yurihara Kasuke was powerless to complain. I didn't say I was going to say no. Okay, I'll provide research funding and key core technologies, and you'll take care of the rest. Guan Yu settled the matter neatly. Core technology? Yurihara Kasuke and Kuretsuchi Mayuri were stunned when they heard this. Have you heard of the finishing technique? Guan Yu said and walked to the wall. Yurihara Kasuke frowned and asked, what is that? A new kid? That is the power possessed by a special group in this world. It seems that they were attacked by the virtual during the process of gestation in the mother's body, so that the soul was corroded by the virtual Ryatsu, which led to the awakening of a special ability after birth. This special ability can extract the soul of matter and use it in battle. As for how to use it, this has nothing to do with the topic I want to talk about, so I will skip it. In short, the key is to extract the soul of matter. Although it is not know why, but I can do the same thing. Speaking of this, Guan Yu suddenly put his hand on the wall. The Ryatsu on his body began to move, and the wall seemed to resonate, and an abnormal light of spiritual light appeared. When Guan Yu drew his hand, a strange substance like flowing water stuck to his hand, causing the rest of the parts were also pulled out. Both Yurihara Kasuke and Kuretsuchi Mayuri watched this scene in amazement. All things have a spirit. This is common sense. But it is absolutely impossible for them to extract the soul that resides in matter by their own ability. Even if they can do it, they will rely on science. After all, the nature is different. I call this ability 100 Refinements of Divine Machines. By extracting the soul of matter and processing it at will, you can easily create props with various functions and manipulate all props at will. Guan Yu released his soul casually, patted his spotless hands, and then said, the self-cultivation furnace I plan to build is essentially based on the ability of sacred Machine 100 Refinements, putting in matter and manipulating the soul of matter, thereby transforming matter into the posture you want. In fact, there are still many functions that have not been said about the self-cultivation stove. But there is no need to let Yurihara Kasuke and Kuretsuchi Mayuri know, and there is no need to add this part of the function at the beginning of the construction, and it can be further improved after the construction is completed. This is related to the progress of his second cultivation plan. It is no problem to eat specially made, transformed souls. This part of the training resources has been initially solved, but Zanpakutō still lacks a lot of Shinigami and Su souls. These souls cannot be replaced by transformed souls or pure material souls. But it's easy to go out to hunt and kill the emptiness, and Shinigami soul is not so easy to deal with. Even if he is determined to attack Shinigami and Rukongai residents like Aizen, Guan Yu also thinks that the efficiency is too inefficient. The most important thing is that he can't get past that level in his heart, and he has a better way. That's the slimming stove. What should I do if I lack a soul? Make it yourself. Yurihara Kasuke and Kuretsuchi Mayuri don't know the reason, and they don't know why Guan Yu built such a thing. After careful consideration for a while, They exchanged with Guan Yu about technical issues and some requirements for the product itself, and decided to take over this project. Challenging order. That's it. Time flies by in constant hustle and bustle, celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time. October 1st to October 7th, 34. The new look of Maggot Nest 1 year later. Cool and damp. There is a man-made square deep in the underground cave far away from people. A dozen or so prisoners in white prison uniforms stood on high platforms around the square. They looked at the melee below with complex expressions. On one side were 27 able-bodied prisoners. The other party is a slender boy. It was an unfair gang fight anyway. However, the opposite is true. Boom! The seemingly weak boy faced the heavy punch of others and went head-to-head. Fist to fist, abruptly smashed the entire arm of the person. The skin cracked, blood spattered, and even bones were looming. Ah! The first syllable of the prisoner's wailing came out, and the young man chased after the victory, twisted his body, and kicked sideways, hitting his chest, sending the prisoners weighing more than 100 kilograms flying backwards like cannonballs and crashing into the square. On the rocks, it directly smashed the rock blocks several people high. This is not an exception. The other 26 prisoners who besieged the young man, without exception, were beaten all over and fell to the ground within a minute, looking half dead. It's a pity that next week's outing has been canceled. Guan Yu glanced at the moaning prisoners and announced in a low voice. Hearing this, the whining sound stagnated slightly and then burst into a louder volume. Some people began to slam the ground violently regardless of their injured body, as if they hated why they didn't work harder. Group fights like this have evolved into a tradition since Guan Yu took over as the leader of the 3rd Division, the Gully Division. There is some truth to what Urahara Kisuke said. The prisoners here, while a potential hazard to Siri-IDI, might be able to function properly if placed in the right environment. So, Guan Yu made a decision. Just use them as sparring partners and practice white hits. There are many powerful people in this group of prisoners. It can be said to be talented. In order to stimulate their motivation and increase their training intensity, they also made a special promise. Promise that as long as the pre-specified conditions are met, for example, all members of the team continue to attack for 1 minute. And as long as there is one person left with fighting ability, all the participants can temporarily leave the maggot nest and go out to play. Long-term high performers may even have the chance to get bail. Although it is no longer a Shinigami, it can be handled according to the exclusion and return to Rukongai to live an ordinary life, which is better than being locked up here and seeing the light of day. Shinigami can live longer than ordinary people, who can stand it for hundreds of years. Therefore, after getting the promise of Guan Yu, the prisoners were instantly reborn. Even if you are not good at white hits, you will take the initiative to find a partner who is good at white hits for advice. During the period since Guan Yu took office, the learning atmosphere of Maggot's Nest was 100 times stronger than that of the Spiritual Arts Academy. Those who didn't know it thought it was a training camp. Murakami, the treatment is up to you. Guan Yu took out a small cloth bag from his arms and threw it to the woman watching on the high platform. The woman looks pretty and looks like a big sister next door with a gentle personality, which seems out of tune with the atmosphere here. She is the former chief officer of the 11th team who once let Ghost Rock City lead the team to block the road. And she is also Guan Yu's senior sister Murakami Natsuki in the Spiritual Arts Academy. It's really inspiring. Murakami sighed helplessly, took out a few pills from the cloth bag, and took them. After a while, Ryatsu's unique energy appeared on his body. The prisoners around looked at the pills in her hand, and their eyes were too hot, but none of them dared to snatch it. These pills can provide a lot of spiritual power. Let people regain some of the power of their heyday. Although it is rootless water, it will be used up sooner or later, but as long as you can escape from here, it is enough. After taking the Lingli pill, Murakami came to the injured prisoners and used Cade to heal them one by one. By the time these people were cured, their spiritual power was basically exhausted. Isn't the Warden Master also Cade? Since he likes cultivation so much, wouldn't it be good to take this opportunity to use them to practice healing techniques? Murakami asked casually. Guan Yu took the water bottle handed over by the waiting team members, took a few sips, and responded coldly. Don't you want to go out? Take advantage of your CADE practice now, and then you could be a barefoot doctor in Rakangai when you go out and live a peaceful life. Don't you think it's better? Really consider it. Murakami smiled slightly, his eyes dimmed. Go out? It's hard to say what will happen in the future, but now she doesn't want to go out. Especially she doesn't want to go out to meet her former companions. She believed that the other party must have guessed her own mind. But he still said that. It's more of a satire out of bad taste than thoughtfulness. It makes people feel extremely complicated. Pat! Suddenly, footsteps came from the stone steps leading to the ground. Guan Yue didn't even have to turn his head to know who was coming. This is Ryatsu, who is as cold as a blade and has no extra emotional color, so it should not be too recognizable. Isn't it enough? You're a sub-commander. I feel like I'm doing business. I mean your current behavior. Cultivation itself is understandable, but since it's over, come out quickly. There is still a lot of work waiting for you to do. The stone steps are winding, and the broken bees are standing with their arms crossed, and the cold face is full of speechlessness. Aha, Guan Yue shrugged, noncommittal, immediately ordered his subordinates to drive the prisoners back to their cells. The public square is now his practice ground. If these prisoners don't want to lose the only remaining recreational space and be locked up in the newly built small cells every day, they have to exercise hard and use their strength to win. Celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time, October 1st to October 7th, 35. Kachiki Ring River. What happened again? Leaving the underground sill is a matter of course, and return to the bright world of blue sky and white clouds. Guan Yu's mood is not very beautiful, because he knew that Broken Bee would not be bored to disturb his cultivation. The two have been working together for more than a year, and the cooperation can be said to be seamless. On weekdays, the small trivial matters are covered by the bees, and they even resist letting Guan Yue waste time on such meaningless chores. If something really happened, Guan Yue attacked at his best and resolved the incident beautifully. Yuruchi's leader, who was lazy and slippery all day long, was very happy. Someone helped the vice captain Zizijin to share his worries. Zizijin would not stare at her all day long, and she could play happily without any burden. Because of this, Guan Yu's sorties are getting more and more frequent. It even gradually exceeded the scope of duties of the threshold management team. In many cases, tasks are performed as the third seat. As a result, the time for cultivation has been squeezed and squeezed again and again. If it wasn't for the self-cultivation furnace not being built, Guan Yue would have wanted to go to Yuruchi for a duel. After winning the fight, she was sealed in a chair to handle team affairs every day, and the Shahoan family servants were in charge of eating, drinking, and laughing. Someone reported that the third seat of the 6th Division had unruly intentions towards his colleagues, and asked us to send someone to detain him. Broken Bee is no nonsense and goes straight to the point. The third seat? The son-in-law of the Kachiki family, Kachiki Xiang'a. Guan Yue instantly recalled the relevant information from his mind. As the team leader of the throne team, secretly monitoring all the members of Godiai 13, always remember some special characters so as not to get yourself into trouble. The nobles, in particular, should be treated with caution. Yes, it's him. Broken Bee nodded to confirm. Isn't he the captain of the special forces directly under the command of Captain Yamamoto? Even if something goes wrong, it won't be the turn of secret mobility, right? According to the regulations, we have the right to intervene. That's it. Guan Yue heard the overtones of Broken Bee. Regulations are regulations. But after all, it is the internal affairs of the 4 great nobles and the first team. How can secret mobility dare to interfere indiscriminately? If something goes wrong, it depends on their reaction first. If they want to solve it internally, then solve it internally. If they make it clear that they don't want to worry about it, then it will be the turn of secret mobility to appear. The characters involved this time are most likely to be dealt with according to the first case. But now someone is taking the initiative to report? Isn't this forcing secret mobility to take action? It is just a malicious intention, but there is no actual criminal behavior. In this case, no organization has the right to take action against the Kachiki Xiang'a, except for the secret mobility 3rd Division, the Gully Division. The attitude of the broken bee is also quite intriguing. Have the right to intervene instead of the obligation to intervene. In other words, it doesn't matter if you don't make a move. The key depends on what he thinks as the subcommander. Guan Yue pondered for a while and asked, "Has the whistleblower produced evidence that Kachiki Xianghe has dangerous thoughts?" Yes. In fact, you should also understand that the evidence is the record of Kachiki Xianghe's 200 years of war participation. Broken Bee looked embarrassed. In the early days, he participated in Siri-IDI's suppression of the rebellion, killing many former colleagues with brutal means, and later performed many similar secret missions. The whistleblower questioned that Kachiki Xianghe had accumulated a considerable degree of negative emotions during his years of fighting with Shinigami, that he was not mentally stable enough, and that he had become a potentially dangerous person, and asked us to immediately arrest him. Then let's go. Guan Yue quickly made a decision. Where to? Broken Bee looked at his back suspiciously. Arrests. In the first team building, in a corner of the vast, ancient building complex, 3 Shinigami dressed in white robes smiled, nodded and bowed at Guan Yue. If the hem of the white blouse hadn't been embellished with black patterns and there were no numbers on the back, he might have thought it was 3 captains from a distance. Guan Yue looked at the 3 people in front of him, his eyes flickering. They are members of the special forces under the commander-in-chief, and they are also whistleblowers. The so-called special unit is actually a copycat version of first-generation Godai 13. At that time, Godai 13 was a killing group created by the captain. Later, Godai 13 was washed ashore, and many things were not done. Captain Yamamoto imitated secret mobility and Kid, and established a special unit based on the killing unit under the first team. Its members dress very similar to the Captain Haori. Just from this point, you can see some clues. However, with the passage of time, the order of Siri-IDI became more and more stable, and this special unit gradually lost in the competition with secret mobility. The earliest members of the group were all disciples and students of the captain, and they were absolute elites. Let's look at it now, a person who looks like a dog. Although he has some skills, he is more likely to live for hundreds of years. The trained cleverness is fighting in the nest, and there is no hope. It's no wonder that the commander-in-chief had to transfer Kachiki Xianghe to be the captain of this unit. In Guan Yu's view, apart from trying to use these old fritters to grind Kachiki Xianghe's overly aggressive temperament, the old man may have saved a little bit of wanting to use the latter's hand to rebuild this team. Bring up the mind. However, when unstable factors and unstable factors are put together, influence and interfere with each other, the probability of benign development cannot be higher than the probability of malignant development. The old man's move has the cruel meaning that he would rather be broken than broken tiles. Don't be so respectful to me. I'm just here to perform official duties. Guan Yue waved his hand and said, "It should be with your talent, Mr. Guan Yue. The position of captain is already in the bag. I believe it is not only me who is optimistic about you. The Golden Seal Noble Meeting should throw an olive branch to you soon, right? Who knows? I only care about the authenticity of your reports now." In the face of this flattering compliment, Guan Yue had a serious face and deliberately assumed a businesslike attitude. It was this attitude that made the 3 of them smile even brighter. Of course it's true. Kachiki Kikuwa has a brutal temperament, and his Zanpakutō abilities are extremely harmful to all Shinigami. Let it go. Sooner or later, Godai 13 will be destroyed. One sentence by one who called Kachiki Xianghe a dangerous person, like a ticking time bomb, was 10 times more serious than the improper meaning, he said when reporting. Your reasons are very good, but our investigation of Kachiki Xianghe is insufficient, and we can't listen to your one-sided words. The situation is urgent. I don't want to cause potential hidden dangers to break out because the investigation takes too much time, so please follow me. After a trip to Kachiki's house, I want to see it with my own eyes before making a decision. Guan Yue nodded slightly. This, when the 3 of them heard the slight change in their expressions, they could not help looking at each other. If possible, they would prefer to send Kachiki Xianghe to prison without showing up. Although our security team is responsible for catching potentially dangerous elements, we need more evidence to prove their harmfulness, and these evidences, most of the time, our security team's subjective consciousness determines whether it is effective. There is an inexplicable meaning in Guan Yu's tone. The three of them seem to hear something out of the ordinary, and they all burst into laughter. What is the evidence? Is the evidence valid? It's all up to the Gucci team to make judgments, and as whistleblowers, it's easy for the Gully team to be preconceived. At that time, as long as there is a little stimulation, Kachiki Xianghe will send himself to prison. It's a lot more fulfilling than snickering behind the scenes. No problem. We will cooperate fully, celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time, October 1st to October 7th, 36. What is the experience of going to Kachiki's house to find fault? There is an official Hall Street in the jurisdiction of the 6th Division. The residents of this block are nobles, and all judicial institutions and public facilities are exclusively reserved for nobles, just like a country within a country. Unrelated people are forbidden to set foot here on weekdays. In addition to the nobles, there are only merchants and employees hired by them who can enter and exit freely. After all, they are nobles. Pay more attention to the quality of life than ordinary people. It is absolutely impossible without prosperous commercial activities. As the land manager of this neighborhood, the Kachiki family's main residence naturally resides here. Although there are no formalities, the three whistleblowers all have noble status. It was obviously Guan Yue who led them to Kachiki's house, but when they got here, they turned out to be the three of them leading the way, with Guan Yue following behind. This road can be described as smooth. When they arrived at Kachiki's house, the steward learned of their intention and immediately informed the elders of the family. Guan Yue also found out after entering the door that Kachiki Yinling was not at home, and he didn't know whether he was working in the team building or going out to visit friends. The person who received the crowd was an old man with white beard and temples named Kachiki Bienjo. The appearance is somewhat similar to Kachiki's Silver Bell, which makes people wonder if the two are brothers, but this is not surprising. How so? Facing the righteous accusations of the three whistleblowers, Kachiki Bienjo's face became more and more ugly. Guan Yue didn't wait for him to express his thoughts, and then interrupted, "Mr. Kachiki, is Kachiki 3 seats at home now? You came by coincidence. He just came back from a mission. He should be with his wife now. At present, no one else knows about this matter. It is still unknown whether he will be detained or not. Can he be called here? I plan to conduct an interview with him and evaluate his mental state through the interview." "Of course it's fine." Kachiki's boat quickly responded. This is a good opportunity to prove his innocence, and he should not miss it no matter what. Secret mobility? What are these people coming to me for? In a certain room of the mansion, Kachiki Xianghe frowned as he looked at the maid who came to deliver a message, and his heart suddenly became cloudy. As a scavenger of the special unit, he knows better than anyone what it means to be targeted by secret mobility. "Shina," a soft female voice recalled his thoughts. Kachiki Xianghe looked at the sound, and his tense face suddenly eased a lot. A woman in a kimono is sitting by the windowsill. Dignified, skillful, and simply born for the word Yamato Nadeko. This is the daughter of his wife, Kachiki Yinling. At this time, the woman's face was a little worried, and she obviously realized something. "It's all right. I'll go take a look. You can ask Byakuya to accompany you for a while." Kachiki Xianghe gave a little comfort, but when he left the room, his expression became extremely cold, and there was a trace of anger between his brows. That is, in the courtyard, Byakuya Kachiki, who was practicing beheading with a wooden sword, saw that Kachiki Xianghe hurried along the corridor in the distance. He couldn't help but feel a little curious, and after thinking about it, he followed. It's like a combination of work and rest. Waiting for the living room, Guan Yue sits silently with a teacup in his hands. His breath is calm and long, making Kachiki's boat gloomy, and at the same time he can't help sighing that if Kachiki Xianghe was so sophisticated and calm when he was young, the situation would not have evolved to this point. Which of the 4 noble families is not an old politician? Many things are well known. In his opinion, the biggest problem with Kachiki Xianghe is not that he is cruel and easy to kill at all, but that he has no knowledge of the world and is too upright. It doesn't require any kind of scheming, but at least you have to have a good relationship with your colleagues. No matter how bad it is, you can't be caught so easily, right? When Guan Yu asked for the verdict, Kachiki was a little happy at first, but thinking about it now, he felt that he had made a bad move. Kachiki Xianghe may not have committed any crimes, but his character is really problematic. There are now 3 whistleblowers present. The attitude is very firm. That is, to let Kachiki Xianghe be taken into custody by the border management team. How could Kachiki Xianghe's violent temper endure this? What kind of violent reaction will be made at that time? The talented teenager who recently made his name at Siriidii saw it all, and it goes without saying that he could have guessed how he would decide. Just when the Kachiki boat was screaming badly, the Kachiki sounding river came. Just looking at the appearance, he is tall and handsome, wearing the unique star pincers of the Kachiki family, and a red scarf of the same style as the silver and white windflower yarn around his neck. Everyone, I don't know what to do with me. Kachiki Xianghe bowed and saluted the old man, then knelt down and faced Guan Yue and the others. His tone seemed calm, but anyone with a keen mind could capture the shaking in his heart. The 3 whistleblowers were all snickering in their hearts, and at the same time, they were deeply resentful. If it was said that Kachiki Yinling himself would be the leader of the special forces, then they would be convinced by 100 people, but they let this hairy boy sit on their own. The head is messed up. How can there be any safe birthday for a long time? No matter what you say this time, you'll have to put him in jail. It is impossible to kill. After all, he is the son-in-law of the Kachiki family, so he still has to give some thin noodles. Find a reason to drive people away. As for where to go, it doesn't matter. Sending him to prison is just to vent his ill will. And it is indeed the most convenient and quick way. After he is released from prison, there will be other positions waiting for Kachiki Xianghe, so that he will never be able to return to the special forces again. I just said it directly. Guan Yu waved his hand to stop the 3 whistleblowers beside him who wanted to speak, and spoke first. Someone doubts that you are mentally unstable because of your long-term use of Zanpakutō's ability, which is potentially harmful to your colleagues. As the subcommander of the Threshold team, I am obliged to evaluate your mental state before deciding whether to use the underground special threshold, so prepares a special cell for you. Celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time, October 1st to October 7th, 37. I ask you if Guan Yu has a good brain. What did you say? Say it again. Not to the surprise of everyone present, Kachiki Xianghe's face was ashen. His tone became fierce, and his eyes were as cold and sharp as knives, as if he was about to poke a hole in Guan Yu. But before that, he noticed the 3 familiar faces around Guan Yu, and he understood everything at once. It's you, right? It's you who reported me to secret mobility. Don't say that. As colleagues, we made this decision with a heavy heart. You, who have always been ruthless to the enemy, must understand our painstaking efforts. This is all for the order of Siriidii. You honestly confess your guilt. Your Excellency Xianghe, we will inherit your will and move on. The 3 of them wiped away tears, sighed, and even made a vow, so angry that Kachiki Xianghe was trembling all over, and his teeth were about to break. Ranging River. Kachiki snorted lowly. Don't get excited, it's just a question. Whether you have any questions or not is up to your own performance. But don't disappoint me and Yinling. Someone is still waiting for you to go back. Kachiki Xianghe was silent for a while, then let out a long breath. Not only anger, but also his anger, and he looked a lot more decadent. Can I ask questions? Guan Yu looked calm and didn't seem to notice his reaction just now. Kachiki Xianghe nodded slowly. How is your relationship with your colleagues? I mean the squad you belong to and the entire unit. I only associate with people I can talk to. The closest ones are my subordinates. That is to say, apart from your subordinates, you are subjectively resistant to contact with colleagues who do not agree with the concept. Can I understand that? Can. Kachiki Xianghe hesitated and nodded, but after a glance, he saw that Kachiki's face changed slightly, and the 3 culprits who framed him were smug, and he couldn't help but snorted, knowing that he had said something wrong. But where's the mistake? Seeing Guan Yu took out a small notebook and put it there to record something. He was anxious and confused, not knowing what to do. The second question, do you have any enemies of hatred? No. Everything I do is for Siriidii, whether it's a mission or a normal day. If someone hates me, it's their business, and I will never take the initiative to be evil. Kachiki Xianghe put his hand on his heart and gave a sonorous answer, as if he swore an oath. This time, he observed everyone's expressions again, and found that, contrary to before, Kachiki nodded slightly, and the three reporters grinned, as if sneering, but also sarcastic. But they are fine. The one who makes the decision is Guan Yue. But no matter how Kachiki Xianghe observed, he couldn't see what the young man was thinking. This made him have to sigh in admiration. The third question, while writing in the notebook, Guan Yue asked without looking up, "If Shinigami wanted to kill you, what would you do without knowing why? Counterattack. If you can subdue it, subdue it. If you can't subdue it, kill it. It is definitely not an ordinary person who can shoot at me. Even if a corpse is left behind, this living clue cannot be allowed to slip under the nose." Kachiki Xianghe also seemed to have adapted to the questioning, and his answers became more and more natural. Fortunately, he still remembered that this was a different kind of interrogation, so he also explained why he did it. Cruelty like killing and killing decisively sometimes lack the explanation of this sentence. However, Guan Yu's fourth question made Kachiki Xianghe's expression froze on his face. Not only him, but also the three whistleblowers. Then if the three whistleblowers around me happened to appear when you were killing your opponent, and they accused you of murdering your colleagues, and wanted to take you into custody, would you choose to capture them or fight back and break through? This Kachiki Xianghe looked at Kachiki's boat with a little helplessness, and the latter frowned, apparently also stumped by this question. "You'd better answer quickly. Otherwise, I have reason to doubt the authenticity of your words, which means that you will lose the qualification to testify for yourself." Guan Yu reminded, "I will be caught without a hand and wait for the verdict. I believe that the 46th room will give me justice." Kachiki Xianghe gritted his teeth. "Then what if the 46th room sentenced you to murder your colleagues by mistake, confiscate your Zanpakutō, and imprison you for 100 years? Guan Yu followed up with questions the second he answered. Kachiki Xianghe's pupil shrank. A violent look flashed across his face, and he immediately stood up from the ground. What a joke! Who would be willing to accept this kind of inexplicable punishment? Even if I accidentally kill the other party, he will kill me first. Can I resist? I have to be obediently killed by him. I can see it. The ultimate purpose of your questioning is to force me to resist, so as to prove that I have great harm to Siri and detain me on this ground. You and the three bastards over there are a group. Presumptuous! How dare you disrespect Lord Guan Yu? The duty of the guard team is given by Siri. Do you want to fight against the order of the entire Siri? Kachiki Xianghe, you finally showed your true colors. The three whistleblowers severely reprimanded the Kachiki Xianghe, and even the Kachiki boat was too late to stop it. The scene became chaotic for a time, and even had a tendency to run out of control. Secret mobility, what qualifications do you have to point fingers at me? Even if you want to judge me, the captain or Lord Yinling will have to come forward in person. I don't have time to waste time with you three wastes and a hairy boy. Please do it yourself. Bar! Kachiki Xianghe snorted coldly, and was about to leave with a flick of his sleeves. Wait, I haven't finished my question yet. Guan Yu suddenly spoke up. Question? Kachiki Xianghe slowly turned around and looked down at Guan Yu. Exactly, I was asked by you for a long time, and I also want to ask you a question. They all said that your second division has a great newcomer, and 1 year after graduation, he has the strength not inferior to the captain's level. But in addition to strength, does his brain work? The crowd was shocked. Even the whistleblower was frightened by Kachiki Xianghe's wild words, and immediately burst into ecstasy. Now Kachiki Xianghe has offended people to death. There is no need for them to add oil and vinegar. Guan Yu himself will take the initiative to target Kachiki Xianghe. Okay, then I'll ask you a question in a different way, and by the way, it will also serve as an answer to you. Guan Yu nodded, showing no provoked anger. He stood up on the ground and reached out to Kachiki Hikari River with his right hand. What? Kachiki Xianghe had a vigilant look on his face. Shake hands. What? Don't you dislike my question? Shaking hands is much simpler and more straightforward than communication. Thinking about it, you are more inclined to use practical actions to explain your thoughts to others than words. Guan Yu laughed. Hearing the second half of the sentence, Kachiki Xianghe lowered his face and glanced at Guan Yu's outstretched hand. There is no sign of using Kid and activating Zanpakutō abilities. No, even if there is no reason to be afraid. The corners of his mouth grinned, and he held it up without saying a word. Celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time, October 1st to October 7th, 38. The materialization of Absolute missed. The three whistleblowers and Kachiki held their breath and watched nervously as they held each other's hands. The first second, nothing happened. Byakuya Kachiki, who was hiding outside the window, looked around carefully. Seeing this bland scene, he was very puzzled. He didn't know what the boy who looked like himself was going to do. Even Kachiki Xianghe didn't notice anything unusual after being on guard for a while. "Oh, it's just..." The joking remarks of "is that so?" have yet to be exported. Kachiki Xianghe suddenly fell to his knees with a pop-tom. "Huh." He made a bewildered sound. It's like a sleepy person who can't understand what's going on in him at all. Not only the body, but also the thinking becomes weak and slow. I can't even be nervous. You can't even be vigilant. It is delusional to develop hostility and fighting spirit. The moment he held Guan Yu's hand, he was disqualified to resist. From the body to the soul, all-round collapse. Now Kachiki Xianghe has his eyes wide open. His expression is at a loss. Like a 3-year-old child, his thinking is stuck in the initial stage. He can only passively accept changes in the outside world, and he does not have the ability to think more logically. Shinga. The whistleblowers in Kachiki's boat were all stunned when they saw it. That elite Shinigami, who also has the name of a genius and has been active for 200 years, has been incapacitated like this? They didn't even feel the Ryatsu vibrate. From start to finish, Guan Yu's behavior was no different from the usual handshake. Could it be that there is something hidden in his hand that can paralyze others? As they speculated about Guan Yu's tactics, an unnatural fluctuation suddenly appeared in the air. It took less than half a second for a figure to change from transparent to solid. On the way to reveal, he couldn't wait to launch a surprise attack on Guan Yu. The sharp nails are like 5 dazzling razor blades, and they don't carry such a terrible Ryatsu, but they themselves are high-density spiritual bodies. Being hit by it is no different from being hit by a high concentration of Kid or a high-quality sword at zero distance, and the consequences will only be more serious. When the claws landed on Guan Yu, a series of sparks burst out. Taking a closer look, he didn't touch Guan Yu's body at all, and all the attacks were blocked by Ryatsu, who was overflowing from his body. In other words, this blow, even his Ryatsu couldn't break through. This is of course not normal, because Kachiki Hikari is also a captain-level Shinigami who has been learning Bankai for many years. It is much stronger than the Ghost Rock Castle. Although there is a gap with the Ryatsu of Guan Yu today, it is impossible that the gap is so large that even the unconscious overflowing Ryatsu cannot break through. Degree. But what if it was the other way around? Ryatsu with conscious spillovers. Are you the Zanpakutō Morasho of the Kachiki Xianghe? It is indeed an aggressive Zanpakutō. Although most Zanpakutō would not sit idly by when they see their master in crisis. But you who can materialize, in this case, there is a potential hazard that no other Zanpakutō has. The silver-blue Ryatsu film on Guan Yu's body is faintly visible, which is the outer shell formed by him deliberately manipulating Ryatsu with key origin flow. Defense performance is very good. If you cooperate with the pseudo-steel skin that will be cultivated in the future, you can completely call yourself a battle mage. Is your target really me? Muramesa's appearance is that of a gloomy man in a white trench coat, with long nails on both hands, and he has many characteristics of an old witch who is good at bewitching people in fairy tales. In particular, its ability is Zanpakutō, which bewitches others and attacks the soul and spirit of others. In addition to being able to materialize, it is equivalent to Kachiki Xianghe carrying a captain-level helper with him. No wonder he was recruited by the Kachiki family. This power is indeed powerful. Even Byakuya Kachiki 100 years later is inferior. Guan Yu replied in a low voice. Everything has a cause and effect. To solve a problem, you have to grasp the essence of the problem and prescribe the right medicine. What I want to review this time is not Kachiki Xianghe, but what caused Kachiki Xianghe to become like you. After all, he let go of his right hand. The look in Kachiki Xianghe's eyes gradually returned. Shinga, Muramesa, seeing the village chief who was supporting him, Kachiki Xianghe remembered something. His expression changed. He suddenly used Shuanpa to smash the sliding door and came to the courtyard, staring at Guan Yu, who was still in the reception room. What happened just now? I don't know. I felt that your soul was very unstable, as if it was going to dissipate, so I rushed out to save you, and then I saw that person grabbing your hand. Kachiki Hikari had a gloomy expression. Unexpectedly, still got hit. The most terrifying thing is that I don't know what the reason is. Pat. Guan Yu walked to the corridor and confronted Kachiki Xianghe. Why do you hide so far? I don't remember any hurtful actions I did to you. Huh, you did it first. If you dare to attack me in this Kachiki's house, even if you were killed, there is no reason for the 46th room to arrest me. Kachiki Kyukawa sneered and put his hand on Muramesa's shoulder. A powerful Ryatsu emerged from his body, and even the clouds in the sky were blown away. Bankai. Execution of Muramesa without a hook. The violet-white Ryatsu, which was surging like a wave, swept up a terrifying gust of wind. He wanted to kill the team leader in front of him as quickly as possible. In this way, it must be able to let many people dispel their thoughts of provoking themselves. Come on, kill Muramesa without a hook. Muramesa's posture is no different from Shirkai's, because it was originally manifested in the form of Bankai state. The only thing that changed was Ryatsu and abilities. When the master gave an order, the figure disappeared into the void, and only countless shadows could be seen from the ground extending towards Guan Yu. Kachiki Xianghe stood there and stared at Guan Yu's every move. Kachiki's family is not suitable for using Kid to fight, so all he can do is use this stupid method to test the opponent. Soon, Guan Yu felt the tightness of his hands, feet, and body being entangled. And Muramesa seized this opportunity to invade his inner world. This is Muramesa's Bankai ability. Invade the hearts of others and attack the spirit and soul, or the Zanpakutō of hypnosis Shinigami. Materialize it and betray the original master, allowing both sides to kill each other. Pretty sinister ability. It's no wonder that people are afraid of it. However, compared to Guan Yu's 8 strange skills, it is not enough. What? As soon as Muramesa entered Guan Yu's inner world, he returned to the real world before he could see what it was like. No, it didn't come back on its own. It was pulled out by Guan Yu. Muramesa? Seeing Muramesa being held in the air by Guan Yu's neck, he was completely unable to resist. Kachiki Xianghe was shocked and angry. It's such an obscure hit again. Is this the materialization of Zanpakutō? Kind of interesting. Guan Yu held Mujing's neck in one hand, and out of the corner of his eye glanced at the dark shadow that appeared around him at some point, and a look of satisfaction flashed across his eyes. The main purpose of this trip has been achieved. Celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time: October 1st to October 7th, 39. More and more like a quencher. Guan Yu is also the first time to witness the real face of Jiuwu. How to say? It's a little different than expected. With a height of just over 1.3 meters, he has long shawl hair that is supple but not reflective in the sun. Dressed in a simple and elegant long black dress, the style is similar to the uniform of a medieval nun, but it gives a wonderful illusion of mourning clothes. A black robe was also draped outside, and the chest was fixed with delicate hexagram metal ornaments. The whole body is tightly wrapped, and even the hands are wearing thin silk gloves of the same color. Overlapped on the abdomen, the demeanor is dignified, making people unconsciously awe-inspiring. The only visible skin is the face. However, he also wore a crown-like metal mask on his head, covering his eyes. Only the bottom half of her face can be seen. But from the excellent skin quality and Qiong nose and red lips, we can know that his overall appearance must not be much worse. Just looks a little too young. Not even Rukia, a proper lowly girl. Guan Yu looked a little weird. He felt as if something was wrong with his memory. Back in the inner world, Jiuwu still hugged him. Judging from the height and the length of his limbs, especially the touch from his back, it was impossible for him to be so petite. Or did the Ketsamushi absorb the virtual Ryatsu and undergo an unknown change? Forget it. None of this matters. It is enough as long as the absolute mist can be materialized smoothly. In fact, this is the first thing Guan Yu thought of when he heard about Kachiki Xianghe. Once Mindless is free to leave Zanpakutō, the original Zanpakutō enhancement plan can be further refined. His original idea was to use the slim furnace to mass-produce Menos Grande, and to reproduce Hikifyan Kiryu's imaginary, temporary soul technology, and then find a way to give Shinigami the power. Transform it into a temporary Shinigami spirit. Finally, let Zanpakutō devour the artificial Menos Grande and the temporary Shinigami soul by the method of subjugation, thereby breaking the limit and at the same time parallel on the two paths of the virtual and the Shinigami, until there is no further progress. Of course, the process of phagocytosis itself is extremely risky. Therefore, Zanpakutō must be put into the self-cultivation furnace for secondary smelting. If a person wants to become stronger, he has to exercise, and if a weapon wants to become stronger, he cannot do without smelting. If these souls are used as refining materials, Zanpakutō is regarded as a magic weapon, and then these are thrown into the self-cultivation furnace to be forged again to strengthen the power of the magic weapon. Is it better to understand? After all, the 8 wonders originated from the Taoist method of the one-person world. Although it has been systematically improved and completely localized, many ideas are still effective. The Bankai of Kachiki Xianghe can make other Zanpakutō materialize mutiny. And for Guan Yu, there is also an article here. When Zanpakutō materializes, it acquires the ability to act autonomously. At this time, the classic line can be used. You are already a mature Zanpakutō. You must learn to cultivate yourself. Self-cultivation and passive transformation. Which one is more efficient and which is lower is really hard to say, but if you can both self-cultivation and passive transformation. With a two-pronged approach, the efficiency is definitely only high and not low. This is actually quite understandable. Zanpakutō is a weapon, and it should be strengthened by means of a weapon that is smelting. After materialization, you can also use the 8 wonders to let her increase her power through cultivation like normal Shinigami, Su, Quincy, and other living beings. This development limit is not suddenly widened. Kachiki Xianghe was right. Guan Yu did intentionally force him to take action, in order to use Muramesa's Bankai to bring his innermost absolute fog into reality. Although his sacred Machine Hundred Refinements can do similar things, it is still not as natural and thorough as Muramesa's ability. A body-cultivating furnace may be fine, but this is not a body-cultivating furnace that has been built yet. And it has to be debugged repeatedly after it is built. And it can't be done like this when it comes up, but there is such a shortcut right now, no need for white. As for the side effects of materialization, the village is being strangled by Guan Yu. The whole person is suspended in the air outside the corridor. His feet are not touching the ground. His body is not only rigid like ice cubes, his spiritual structure is gradually melting, and it is about to collapse and collapse. Some ordinary souls dissipate naturally. In fact, as long as Muramesa calmed down and thought about it, he could see through Guan Yu's tactics and issue a warning to his master, but he didn't. It should be said that if there is a master, there must be a sword. Too much reliance on one's own abilities. Seeing the dark shadow that suddenly appeared beside Guan Yu, Muramesa squeezed out a roar from his throat with difficulty. Chu, pour out your long-suppressed dissatisfaction to your master. As soon as these words came out, there was an invisible ryatsu like ripples, rippling like a breeze. Let's see what you do now. Kachiki Xianghe consciously wins. Kachiki Bianzhou and the others raised a heart in their throats instantly, and they almost couldn't help but try to stop it. But at this moment, dissatisfied? Guan Yu squinted at Jiuwu. What is your dissatisfaction with me? Say it and listen. Jiuwu squeezed Sakura's lips tightly, shaking his head desperately. Just like a girl who was coerced by a villain, one could not help but feel pity. Don't worry. I will be your helper and help you get rid of the shadow of being controlled. Now you need to take the first step bravely. Muramesa did not give up and continued to exert influence. His speech is extremely hypnosis. But what made Muramesa feel unbelievable was that Jiuwu remained unmoved. Guan Yu's tone was indifferent. Have you found it yet? You can't shake my heart at all with your ability. It's not good to say it. You can't even manage your own knife, and you deserve to be injured by a knife. But you are too confident in your own abilities, and your self-confidence also affects your master. You are his potentially dangerous thought itself, so I'm taking you into custody. Wait, I didn't. Muramasa wanted to defend himself, but Guan Yu didn't bother. A fiery red Ryatsu ignited in the palm of his hand and immediately spread to Muramasa's body, causing him to struggle violently and let out a silent whimper. The open mouth, as well as the eyes, the facial features glowed together, as if something was erupting in the body, releasing light and heat to every outlet to the outside world. After a while, the hands and feet fell weakly. The entire body condensed into a talisman, which fell into Guan Yu's hands. This is a sealing spell created by combining the suppressing power of spiritual dispatch with the transformation operation of double hands, combined with Kid's knowledge. Similar to the star badge of the Invisible Empire. As long as this spell was in the world, Kachiki Hibiki couldn't get in touch with Muramasa. It's like isolating the two. Without Muramasa, Kachiki Shirkai's ability was cut in half, and Bankai couldn't even use it. I'm really looking more and more like a Quincy Master. No, it should be said that the Quincy Master's technique is really practical. Guan Yu thought to himself, celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time, October 1st to October 7th, 40. Backhand sent the police in Muramasa, seeing that the village was being transformed into a talisman. Kachiki Xianghe shouted anxiously. It used to be that he only called out. Regardless of Zanpakutō's presence or absence, Muramasa will always be there for the first time. But this time, Muramasa did not respond. He felt as if a part of his heart had been poached. Seal? Kachiki Hikari clenched the handle of the knife, and his body trembled involuntarily. Half because of anger. The other half is because of restlessness. There's nothing wrong with admitting that. Facing the unfathomable Guan Yu, he didn't know how to fight against it. 3 seats for Kachiki. At this time, Guan Yu took the initiative to speak up. His eyes were calm, not as murderous or cold and sharp as Kachiki Xianghe imagined. In short, it doesn't look like a person who is fighting with someone. Next, I will inform you of the results of your psychiatric evaluation. Does it make sense to say that after all this, Kachiki Kyukawa silently released his stance, and the blade naturally fell to the ground? Guan Yu whispered, at least for your family, it makes sense. The evaluation results are as follows. Kachiki Kyukawa himself does not have the ideological tendency to harm Suriidii. Regarding the fact that the long-term use of Zanpakutō causes negative mental effects, it has been confirmed by judgment that it is correct, so he will be sealed by Bankai, and he will be temporarily placed under observation. Wait! Lord Guan Yu, hearing this result before Kachiki Xianghe said anything, one of the whistleblower's onlookers couldn't help but jumped out and questioned. Kachiki Xianghe draws his subordinates to boycott his colleagues. It is obviously suspected of a rebellion of gangs and selfishness. Guan Yu swept away. Is it my assessment or your assessment? I was asking about the relationship between him and his colleagues. Although he answered that he has the best relationship with his subordinates, how many subordinates does he have? Compared with the entire organization, the scope of his philosophy influenced destined to be a very small part. If he wants to form a party for personal gain and launch a rebellion, he should try to win over more talents. After all, what can he use to rebel if he doesn't have enough combat power? Besides, for an idiot like him who has a quick temper and is only provoked by 2 or 3 words of me, he can't take care of his rudeness. It's normal for him to have bad interpersonal relationships. From both logical and perceptual observations, there is only one conclusion that can be drawn: that he does not have harmful thoughts that are not good for Suriidii. This, the whistleblower was retorted speechless. Kachiki Xianghe's face was black too. Although Guan Yu was helping him to clear his grievances, it was a bit too harsh to say. But isn't he still thinking of disobeying the judgment of Room 46? Another whistleblower quickly jumped out to help. Guan Yu looked at him like a fool. What verdict? That's just my assumption. Resisting when he was wrongly judged shows that he is not a deep-hearted person. If he does nothing, let it fall. I have to doubt whether he has the thought of forbearance and revenge for 100 years. This kind of talent is called potentially dangerous. Otherwise, you're going to lock up all the hot-tempered, tough-tempered people in Shinigami. Another whistleblower was choked to the ground. How dare he not? You must know that this soul society has the most grumpy temper. It is his immediate boss, Yamamoto Yuanyuzi. Oh no, wait. And his ability. Yes, his ability. The last whistleblower racked his brains to come up with a breakthrough. But when he saw Guan Yu raised his right hand and gestured for the amulet that sealed Muramasa, he was speechless. Sharp Baika Kachiki, who was hiding in the corner of the corridor, exclaimed. The other party's old-fashioned methods simply opened his eyes. In all respects, it is impossible to find faults. Senior Guan Yu, please think again. You have sealed his ability, and his character will inevitably lead to resentment, so it is necessary to eliminate this hidden danger in one go. The whistleblower who spoke last inadvertently caught a glimpse of Kachiki Xianghe's ugly expression, and a flash of light flashed in his mind. And he came up with a reason he thought was perfect. It even uses Guan Yu's theory in reverse. That's right. Exactly. The other two also echoed, enhancing the convincing power of their words. Guan Yu disapproved and said, "It's normal to feel resentment. It's just for me. Siri forbids violent incidents between team members, but it's not our team's turn to deal with this kind of thing. We have to record and judge in the reward and punishment books of each team. Even if I take a step back and say I'm worried about retaliation from him, I don't think there's any need to arrest him. Why? The reason is simple." Ignoring the ugly face of the whistleblower, Guan Yu glanced at Kachiki Xianghe, who had the same unsightly face. A slight smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and said leisurely, "When I shook his hand, he fell to the ground. Even the strongest Bankai was easily blocked by me, and I didn't even make a decent counterattack. Just standing here makes him helpless. In this case, doesn't it seem too far-fetched to still define the person Kachiki as a potential harm to me?" Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Completely refreshed my impression of Guan Yu. In his bones, there is an arrogance far above the Kachiki River, and that kind of arrogant weight can be so overwhelming that others can't say no. But then again, Guan Yu suddenly changed the subject. Actually, this mental evaluation is not only a mental evaluation of Kachiki Xianghe, but also a mental evaluation of the three of you. Your Excellency Guan Yu. What are you talking about? We are whistleblowers. Of course I know this, but you see, if one person says yes and the other says no, then it turns out that the person who says no is right. So does that mean the previous person is wrong? Wrong? Do you always have to pay for your actions? This is also out of our loyalty to Siri. The three whistleblowers were sweating and trembling. Really? Judging from your actual behavior, I think you framed your colleagues, deceived the superior, and induced the team to make mistakes.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.